Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 3rd of April, 2022. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
I'm ready this time.
And Robert Kemp.
Blur. Had to fill the gap. The blur gap.
You're ready this time?
Yeah,
When were you not ready?
last time.
Yeah, remember the last podcast where it was like started with a sort of
Oh, yeah.
blur.
Right. I thought the listeners might think that we'd just done a bad take and we had to redo it, but we didn't.
Well, that,
You ready to go?
that should have been last time. last time
yeah,
was the bad
probably.
take that we should have redone.
Nah. Keep it in.
But we
Just
don't
keep
do
it
that.
in. No, we don't do that.
Except in very, very rare situations.
We do it live.
Yeah. We're ready.
I mean, I'm trying to think, like, over the entire history of the Saladcast, how many edits have I actually had to make? Not that many.
Yeah, like 2. Well, I mean, real edits, not like fixing general audio quality.
Yeah. Not like straight up proper edits as opposed to like fuzziness or
You've had to cut some stuff together when technical problems have
Yeah, maybe
I
like
cropped
4.
up. I think.
don't know if I'm really counting technical ones, but ones where we've actually had to edit something because we said something and it's just like, you know what, let's not have that. Like a proper edit, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
an editorial edit as opposed to a technical edit.
Yes, uncommon and probably unnecessary, even in the cases when we did it.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
But still, good to be sure.
To be sure.
To be sure.
What's happening, yo?
Oh, did you celebrate St. Patrick's Day? I had my Guinness
No.
the day before for some reason. I was a day early
don't
for
know.
St. Patrick's Day.
I don't know if I've ever done anything on St. Patrick's Day, not even accidentally.
I'm sure you probably have drunk a beer on St. Patrick's Day accidentally.
Possibly, yeah.
Which, if you call that a celebration,
I don't know
really.
if I've ever been out on a St. Patrick's Day.
You
like-
probably have.
It's a good excuse just to drink Guinness.
Yeah,
and
even in my bar
whiskey.
dwelling days, you know, I don't think that I did that. I think I might have actively avoided it because of
Well,
St.
sure.
Patrick's Day.
I mean, that makes sense.
Right, probably. If you're dwelling in a bar, then you don't be dwelling there that day. Yeah.
I have
It's
just
true.
managed to spill a quantity of beer over myself, though. So
So you didn't learn much from the bar dwelling days.
no, it's the mustache. It's the classic mustache. Like a bit of beer gets in the mustache and then it drips on me, and I'm like, oh yeah,
Oh, the dripping.
oh yeah, facial hair. I haven't got my Mogard on my glass. You see, that's the problem.
Obviously.
My little rubber Tommy Tippy like device.
See, I'm a quarter Irish, and my name is Danny Boy.
Boy.
But yeah, I've never been there, so I don't think
You've never been to Ireland?
No, have you been there?
Yeah, I've been to Dublin.
Yeah, I haven't done a trip to Dublin. I need to do it sometime.
You can go to the was it the National Gnome Museum?
Obviously.
Oh, perfect for you
'Cause, you know,
guys,
Irish folklore gnomes.
right?
Could they not even manage to make it the International Gnome Museum? I mean, come on.
I mean,
How many other countries? I mean, Iceland, obviously.
Iceland, yeah, definitely have
What?
gnomish traditions.
Probably some of the other Scandinavian countries, I
Yeah,
bet.
possibly.
Do you think the Reykjavik National Gnome Museum is in competition with the Dublin one?
Well, I mean, you know, if you're going to have national ones, somewhere there's got to be an international one, right? There's got to be one overarching.
Well, is that true?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is the law different enough, like that they can't blend?
Well, it's not. Yeah, but the whole point of the international one would be to have like all the different countries' versions alongside each other and like talk about the differences and stuff.
Ranking of gnomes,
Do they do that? What's a national?
but then like the international one could just throw in the UK ones as a joke. Like here are garden gnomes.
Well, yes. I mean,
It was
you
the
could.
law behind garden gnomes, if such a thing exists.
Well, the law behind garden gnomes is we stole the actual like the old version gnomes and made them a bullshit consumerism thing, I guess.
Twee. Made
Yeah.
them twee.
Gnomes are cultural appropriation. Gone very wrong.
What country do you reckon was that gnomes cartoon from? It's got to be Scandinavian,
Gnomes
right?
cartoon.
It looks
Yeah.
very of that style,
I don't even remember
like
that.
Moomin or whatever.
I remember like
Yeah, it looks
Romeo and
moominy.
Juliet, but I don't remember the like actual.
God.
And
You
animated.
remember that? Why do you remember that? Did you watch
It wasn't long ago that
They
Gnome
did that.
showed a friend the sequel or something
Yeah.
because it happened to be on Netflix.
They did a newer version of it, and it was still terrible, if not more so.
And she complains about watching Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean,
It's sort of okay. You have to like Elton John. It's one of those because it's sort of made by his partner, I think.
right.
So there's a lot of Elton John in it.
I think I'll pass.
Like,
But I think I'd be into an international gnome museum, though. But
Yeah,
where would
maybe.
you put it? It would have to be on neutral ground somewhere. Like,
I mean, it's probably Iceland again. That's where
yeah.
Belgium.
Iceland is the International Penis Museum, right? That's their one.
No, that's in Amsterdam, isn't it?
Is it? I thought there was one in
thought it was-
Iceland as well.
Oh, Amsterdam's probably
Oh,
got
maybe
some
it is.
sort
Well,
of...
maybe that is the
probably the
international
national
one, and then the
one.
other
Yeah,
national one is.
Oh, no, maybe I'm thinking of the sex museum.
Yeah, there's definitely
Oh
something.
yeah,
Yeah,
that,
but that has a giant, like, obviously,
Well, obviously.
like, giant plastic knobs.
I'm sure there's quite a few establishments across the globe that are knobtastic.
Speaking of moving, because that just reminded me of something. Well, I mean, my mum is.
Steering us
Hopefully not
into
in the
safe
context
to
of
work
knobtastic.
territory. Yeah,
I'm going segueing back a bit further than that.
the back, yeah.
My mum is quite a fan of the moving stuff.
really?
A Moomin fan.
Which I mean, I guess I watched quite a lot of it when I was a child. I'm not sure if that was related or whether that was just it happened to be on TV at some point.
Yeah, I kind of haven't. Like, I don't know if I've ever really properly... I can't really remember properly watching it.
But we've got some of the books, right? The actual books in our house, and I was looking at them, and there's one that I just like. I looked at it and was like, okay, but it's like Comet in Moomin Land or whatever. So it's like there's a picture on the front, and there's like a comet, and they're like running away. And I was like, well, hang on a minute, because now the implication of this picture is looking a bit apocalyptic, right? I was like,
Right.
hang on a sec. So then I actually started reading it, and it really does sort of verge towards the apocalypse, where they're actually worried about this comet is going to crash into the planet and fuck everything up. And I'm like, this is weird.
Dark
Classic
Moomins.
children's story.
Yeah.
Like, and a gigantic disaster that you can't possibly avoid.
And like
Perfect
barely even
for children.
understand what the hell is even going
Yeah.
on.
It's
Yeah.
like if Zack Snyder did the Moomins.
And the thing is, I never actually finished reading that book, which is probably not helpful for this conversation. But I got to the bit where they eventually make it to like an astronomical observatory, because they want to go and see some astronomers to find out what the fuck's going on, see if it's actually see if the whole world is actually in danger or whatever.
I wonder if the writers of Moonfall saw this.
But then, like the last bit I
Writers
remember,
of fucking Don't Look Up.
Oh, yeah.
the last bit of this scene that I remember reading is as they're approaching the observatory, they're like, "Oh, we must be going on along the right path because there's all these cigarette butts on the ground from the astronomers smoking all the time." And I'm like, "Wow,
They're
this
so concerned.
this book is like very of its age, I guess."
Do you think they're smoking more than normal because they know the world's going to end?
Yeah, maybe.
They're like, oh, fuck
this
it.
is-
Who cares
this is
about?
a weird topic for a children's story, and then we've got these weird smoking astronomers as well. You just can't stop smoking all the time.
It's the international language of stress, don't you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the time. But now I'm wondering whether that is like a modern moving book that's just meant to look like, it's meant to
Oh, right.
be like the old ones.
Sort of drawn in the old style. But
Yeah. Because the other kind of books that my mum collects are like, she likes those parody Ladybird books where it's like the old
Yes,
classic.
Yeah. Those are funny, though.
Yeah. So I'm like, is this a Moomin parody book? I don't think it is. I think it's just that's just weirdly in one of the stories.
I think I got given like a guide to being a husband. Something like the Ladybird book of being a husband.
Yeah. Which
classic.
is probably like go to the shed. It's probably
Step one.
one of the things it says, I imagine.
Spend at least 10 hours a day in the shed.
Yeah.
You don't have to come up with anything productive.
Just stay in there.
Just be in there. Doing bad things.
Yep. Exactly. Or pretending to do bad things
Yeah.
at least.
I mean, to be fair, the room that you guys are in right now is like equivalent.
This is the modern.
This is my modern man shed. There's not that much wood in it, I suppose, unless you count the
huge
sort of
table that takes up 2/3, well, 1/3 of the room.
Yeah,
by surface area.
Did I complain about Don't Look Up? Did we talk about that?
No, we didn't
at
talk
all?
about Don't Look Up.
Oh man, it was nominated for like Best Picture.
Was it really?
Ridiculous. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah, because I thought the sentiment, at least on Twitter, was not good around that thing.
Well, it was very divisive, I suppose, and it's like audience. It's one of those ones where it's like critics hated it, audiences loved it, or something.
Right.
And so.
Which happens. I get it.
Yeah, fine. But I was watching it with Ho and Kat because we just were looking for something funny or whatever. And I'd heard I'd literally had it recommended to me. And I had to turn it off. It was so bad. Literally.
Really?
Couldn't make it through. Yeah, it was embarrassing. It was terrible.
I might have to pull the plug on like a mate of mine said, I'm going to go see Morbius like tomorrow night.
Oh, right.
And I'm
God.
I've seen the memes.
Right, exactly.
I'm basing this entirely on Jared Leto memes that perhaps I shouldn't spend money on this.
It's like, yeah, exactly. There's the money aspect, but then it's like honestly, very few films are bad enough that they're fun to watch because they're bad. Like it's quite not, The Room.
Yeah. But it's not even like MCU. Like it's that sort of weird Spider-Man spin-off universe that Sony have got going, like the Venom side of things.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's tied into that. So it's not even MCU. So it's like it can be forgiven for being bad because it's not like MCU has had a bad movie. So it's like, yes, we're okay. We're okay, guys.
But I mean, did you watch like freaking Venom and stuff like that?
No, I've not seen any of them.
No. Oh, okay. Well, did you see? Did we talk? Did you see Spider-Man in the end?
No, I'm still out on that one. I know it's come up for rental on services, but like I'm a bit of me hoping. Well, that means it's probably not far away from not being on rental, and could potentially be watchable.
Yeah, definitely see that one over Morbius or whatever. But
I still haven't seen Eternals, so I'm a little bit behind on MCU.
Oh, me either. I don't know if I've got Disney Plus, so I could watch Eternals whenever I like, but I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I know it's supposed to be one of the slightly ropier MCU projects. But
I'm sure it's probably fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's probably enjoyable, but it's not. I think it's on sort of Black Widow level, right, where they said like neither of these are really important. So.
I would probably go back and not watch Black Widow. Rewind time and unwatch it. Although it was kind of fun just for because Adam and Joe, like I used to listen to their radio show, and they used to make fun out of people doing bad accents in movies, and one classic one at the time when their radio show was on was Ray Winston trying to do an American accent, which was ridiculous. And in Black Widow, he's sort of not trying to do a Russian accent. Like he sort of every single line he says, it just goes straight back to the East End, like at the end. Exactly, he turns Cockney at the end, and it's almost worth watching. And the thing about Black Widow is like Florence Pugh has a lot of charm, like and the other guy, the guy from Stranger Things, like they're good. It's good casting. It's just not good, like script and story and all of that stuff. But yeah, but good casting apart from maybe don't cast Ray Winston as a Russian. That's ridiculous.
So, he's just one of those people we can't really cast him as anything other than a Cockney wide boy.
He's great I love him as a Cockney wide boy. Yeah. Like freaking what's the film?
I've got no beef with Ray Winston. Probably because he'd have me, right? Like
yeah. Oh yeah. Have you seen Sexy Beast?
Yeah.
That's an amazing film. So good. Yeah, definitely watch Sexy Beast. Don't watch Black Widow.
One or the other.
It's quite a different thing, isn't it?
No.
Did you see the remake of The Sweeney with him and Plan B?
No, but that sounds good. Is it bad?
It's not great. It's clearly made on a budget. You know that episode of Top Gear? Well, you probably don't watch Top Gear, but like back in the Clarkson days where they did like let's try and make a film car chase, and they do it in this caravan lot and something. That's literally a scene from The Sweeney that they hijacked to make their dumb Top Gear thing.
Scene from the original Sweeney?
No. The the
I see.
remade film. Like they literally just like hijacked their filming of the Sweeney to make a Top Gear segment.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, fair enough. Probably had more budget for Top Gear than they did for the film.
Probably. It's probably how the car chase got made, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Shared budget.
I never watched the Sweeney. I watched.
I know the theme tune. That's about as far as my knowledge goes.
Yeah, because it's the same guy, right? When he was younger, obviously, as Inspector Morse, right? He's the Sweeney Todd Flying Squad, right? And it was all much more like, violent. 1970s. Yeah. I think it was like what Life of Mars was like referring to.
Right.
Life on Mars, sorry.
Yeah.
But even Life on Mars is now like 20 years old or something.
Yeah, I know. I didn't watch that one. I skipped straight to Ashes, and.
Yeah, because Ashes to Ashes was the 80s one, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, sort of late 70s. Yeah, kind of afterwards, which is also great.
Yeah.
And weird. It ends very weird. I love it.
Oh, yeah, because it was all kind of had a meta framing narrative, didn't it? Or time travel and all that. Yeah. Anyway,
long sidetrack aside.
Don't Look Up.
Okay.
Also, maybe don't watch Black Widow.
We watched.
Do watch Sexy Beast.
Speaking of stuff we did watch, and is an okay time. Gnome and I watched Death on the Nile last night.
Oh, really? Because
it's an okay time. I mean, it's a tropey as hell murder mystery, but it's fine. It's all right.
The thing exactly about that is that like some of the cast have been horrifically cancelled, right? In between filming and release.
Yeah, you may notice that Armie Hammer is not in any of the promotional material.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
and even Letitia Wright said something. No, she didn't she didn't eat anyone, but I think she said something not cool.
Oh yes, yeah. That was a while back, but yes,
yeah.
Can't really remember. There's so much of it now. Can't really remember.
Yeah. Had you seen Murder on the Orient Express? Then?
I had, yeah, and I think I came away with the same sort of opinion of that, and that it's like it's all right. It's a well-made version of this. No real surprises.
Exactly. I mean, there are a lot of versions of both of those stories, right?
But I didn't. I honestly hadn't watched any of them until these, so it's like at least the mystery aspect was still a little fresh for me. But like I imagine if you're going into it like, or knowing the outcome, then it's like, oh well, this is. It must be really kind of tedious going into watching something like that. Like you can only watch one of those once, really, surely.
Did you not know who done it for Murder on the Orient Express? Because that's very famous, isn't it?
No, I didn't until I saw it. So it's
that's cool.
But
I can't remember who done it in Murder on the Nile.
You'd hope that eventually, for the number of times that story gets remade, then they'd start doing twists. But that's the risk, of course.
It is the risk. The twist is bad. Yeah.
If you try and change the original story and you just make it worse, then everyone's going to shit on you real good.
But then, even if you change it at all, those people who the mega fans for some reason are going to be annoyed.
Well, obviously.
It's like, why did you change it?
That's a smaller subset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can do it well for sure, but it's a risk.
It seems like these ones are pretty faithful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just basically like how much moustache can we have on screen?
as much as you want. I love it.
Maximum face.
Matte tash. It's an enviable tash. So sculpted. It's like a double tash. It's 2 layered. It's beautiful.
It's impressive.
Yeah, so we watched that. We also finished off Boba Fett.
Oh yeah, what did you think of when it turned into the other show?
I mean, when it's Mando for a bit, it's good stuff, right?
It's real good. Yeah.
Back to being Mando, but like
it's noticeable the contrast of like, oh, this was really good.
Yeah. God, that ending's ropey though, isn't it? Like the end of the season's a bit funky.
Man. I mean, it would be forgivable if they hadn't like shoehorned in important Mando stuff into the middle of that sequence.
Yeah.
Like what? I didn't get that.
Yeah.
It was exhausting to watch. Like he doesn't know how to direct action, so it was just like
no, it clearly not. And also, like I was getting strained by an obscene amount of stock sound effect usage. Right, like all the classic robot noises they could have found. Like I'm about to try and demo it, but like there's this one in particular of like servos moving or something. It just goes sort of like that sort of noise, like that's like
Right.
such a classic like robot stock sound effect, and they use that quite a lot. And I'm just like, no, God, you're Star Wars, man. You invent these sound effects, unless these stock sounds came from Star Wars originally, which would be like kind of weird. But it's like you guys should be making sounds, not just cribbing them, and it came across as quite cheap. Like, in a weirdly expensive way, if that makes sense. Like, it's clearly got budget, but also didn't really work.
I wasn't into the. It was way too long, the sequence with the destroyer, with the droid things.
Also, why would you, like, you had a... Okay, mild spoilers. Boba Fett has a moment where he disappears from the fight to go get something, right? And he comes back with a Rancor. And I'm thinking, like, it might have been better to bring your gunship. You went all the way back, and you brought the Rancor and not your gunship.
You could have brought some.
Like, the gunship would have just ended that whole thing.
Yeah, I suppose I don't want to defend it, but I guess he was like didn't want to destroy the town that he was dominating. But I guess if you bring a Rancor, you're gonna do some damage.
But no, but then and like the gunship's like is pretty accurate, right? And those robots are very not. So it's like also how atrocious are those robots at aim? It's like it's the worst like example of like the bad guys can't shoot.
Stormtroopers can't aim right. Yeah, it's even worse.
So, it was sort of entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but it's like
there was something horrible about the pacing of it. It just didn't like. It was like hard to watch for some reason. I don't know.
And also, it's like really tactically stupid at points. It's like, okay, we're in this bottleneck being gunned down by dudes, and we're all hiding behind this sort of skiff thing. Like, new people turn up to turn the tide of the battle. What do? They immediately get behind the skiff rather than trying to flank the bad guys, like with the element of surprise. Like, no, what are you doing? It's like, it's so stupid. And like, you're supposed to be Boba Fett. You're supposed to be like,
I know
your job, and you're awful at it.
Boba Fett mainly sucks. Like, and everyone else has to do everything for him.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they should have played into that in a slightly more comedic way, and then it would have been a very, very different and probably better show.
I don't know.
I mean, that would even kind of make the actual Star Wars films make more sense. Where like the stupid bit in the Jabba fight where he just gets hit, Han Solo turns around and hits him on the back with a stick by accident, and then he falls in the Sarlacc pit. That would make way more sense if the whole legend of Boba Fett was totally made up, and he was actually just he sucked and had to have everyone else help him all the time.
I'm kind of buying into that regardless now. It's. Like, even with
your
the
new
show.
headcanon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boba Fett's hopeless.
He's just actually terrible and, like, somehow bumbles his way into being a crime boss, you know?
He's supposed to be cool. He's supposed to be the only one of all those terrifying bounty hunters who can actually clever enough to, like, track the Millennium Falcon and find Cloud City and then get there before them even. And, like,
something in my head
he's
just
supposed
went,
to be
like, he's
some kind of genius.
My head was going, he's the only one of the bounty hunters that can actually bounce.
He's the only one who can
bounce and possibly hunt.
One does bounce. You dabble in bounce.
So yeah, sad times. I don't think it's not ruined the Mandalorian.
Oh no, absolutely not. There's more Mando coming. We know that. It's got got Great Scott guy in it, whose name I can never remember. You know, the Doctor from Back to the Future.
That's it.
Yeah, apparently he's been cast in Mando 3.
In Mando. Oh, that could be good. Okay. And then we got ridiculous Obi-Wan in between, right? Coming out next in next month or whatever, which is God knows what that's going to be like. There was a trailer, but it's like let's rehabilitate the prequels even further, like and pretend they were good, which they weren't.
Yeah, they are getting like actual Ewan McGregor in though, aren't they?
Oh yeah, it's Ewan McGregor. Yeah.
So that's something.
Yeah, and Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, for reals.
Okay. I mean, that's less good.
Well, he's probably not going to be in it that much, to be honest.
And hopefully he'll be behind a helmet the entire time.
We can only hope. I mean, they managed that in Mando, so...
It's all right.
They haven't managed it in Halo, apparently. Not that I'm watching that, but...
No. a friend of mine texted me to say, "Are you watching this Halo thing?" It's like I haven't really played any of them since Halo 1. What the bloody hell is going on?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I mean, I can't even really think what's going on in actual Halo half the time anymore.
But it's a different continuity, isn't it?
Yeah, they've definitely changed it quite a bit.
But I think it is, like, from what I can tell, this series is based, is starting in the time of, before the fall of Reach or whatever, when the Spartans are like fighting the insurgents or whatever.
Sure, but they're already quite Forerunner aware, like which was, or they find stuff about them, and I think that was in the actual game series. That's quite downplayed, right? That the Forerunners were quite a secret until they stumbled upon Halo, and that, well, quote unquote, stumbled upon, which is quite a deliberate move, as it turns out in the actual canon.
I can't remember that. What is the actual story then? Why do they jump to Halo?
Well, because they actually find some stuff under Reach, right? There's some stuff in under there, which is why Master Chief is in stasis on the what is it? Is it the Ford? No, it's the Pillar of Autumn. Is sort of in status there. Why Cortana's actually there, and why they're rescuing Cortana in order to.
And Cortana knows the coordinates.
Yeah, Cortana knows where the ring is, but they, as far as I can tell, they don't tell Cortana doesn't tell the
captain,
that that's where they're going.
Right.
It makes it out to be a huge surprise that they find this thing.
Seems risky when she knows they're going to be followed by the Covenant or whatever, immediately.
Or maybe she didn't. Maybe she thought it was a clean getaway. I don't know. I don't know how slip space works.
Is that what it's called in Halo? I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? Because,
Yeah, because I'm just trying to remember from the start of that game, because they literally, I mean, obviously Cortana would be faking it, but they say it's a random jump, right?
Yeah.
Which clearly it wasn't, yeah.
But then they also immediately after that say that the Covenant had got there first.
We're waiting for us or something on the far side.
Which either implies that Covenant slip space is just faster, so they'd already aligned and just jumped ahead of them, or the Covenant did already know about the Halo.
Yeah, because the first line is, all I need to know is, did we lose them? And it's like, I think we both know the answer to that. Right, that's the first line of the game, right?
Yes.
So, double retconning.
I mean, Halo got proper. I mean, that's even before Halo got proper weird.
Yeah,
right? Like, as soon as 343 took over, it got proper mental.
Right, yeah. It was already getting a bit weird and retconny, and then it went full blown insane, right? Yeah. Because they were like, "What the hell are we going to do now?"
and I think it's some of the 343 stuff that, as I haven't seen the show, but I think it's more the 343 side of things that they lean into.
Yeah, fair.
Or lean adjacent to. So that's the TV and filmy bit.
Yep.
I'll tell you what else I want to do before we get cracking with games.
Or news about games.
It's a podcast about video games. I've got some kitchen bitching to do.
Okay.
I'm gonna roast a toaster because I need another rhyming thing. My toaster's broken.
Okay, good.
Well, sort of half broken, sort of not broken, but sort of broken. So I was okay. Don't judge. I was heating a Pop-Tart. Or a pair of Pop-Tarts, I should say, not a single Pop-Tart.
Considering our previous discussions about Rob's preferences of breakfast cereal, Pop-Tarts aren't that surprising.
I do love a Pop-Tart. And there was an evening during the week where Gnome just came home and was like, have you been good today? And I'm like, I've been average. And she's no, have you been good today? And I'm like, seriously, it's been a not a notable day. And she's like, ugh, well, I'm going to treat you to some Pop-Tarts anyway. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah. So I heated up some Pop-Tarts. Naturally, as I was removing one of these Pop-Tarts from the toaster, the corner just totally snapped off.
And poured a bunch of hot Pop-Tart shit into it.
Well, no, it was mostly intact.
Okay.
Like the jam didn't ooze out. They're not that jammy. They're like,
no, they aren't.
It's kind of a gel.
Yeah.
And so the corner sort of fell into a cranny of the toaster, and it's like, well, There's no easy way of getting that out.
Too big for the crumb tray.
Yeah, too big for the crumb tray. It hasn't made it all the way down. And it's like, that's going to be really awkward to try and pick out. Let's get to shaking.
Yep, turn it upside down and shake it.
Yep, shook it out. Like, our toaster is disgusting.
Well, I mean, it depends how much you've emptied the crumb tray.
Well, yes, a lot of things, as it turns out, don't go into the crumb tray. They just hang around somewhere in there. And, so I got to shaking, which turns out was a terrible idea, because now I think I've shaken something into the mechanisms on both the... Well, I shook it and got something stuck in, I think, the mechanism for one of the loaders, right? So it wouldn't stay down anymore. You could sort of feel that there was a bit of resistance there, but not enough to hold it in place. So I think I got like some crumb or something.
Like crunchy.
Yeah, Jet sort of jammed into it. So I told Gnome about it, and she's like, so she had to go, shook it a bit. And then the same thing happened to the other side.
Okay.
And it's like, well, maybe shaking this is a terrible idea. Like, maybe these are mechanically unsound to the shake. Like, maybe it's not a crumb or something in there. Maybe this is just a thing we shouldn't do. So I shook it again. And then fixed one side, so that now works again.
Did you try shaking it right side up to see if you could, like, shake whatever's in there back down?
Yes, that's exactly what I did. I tried shaking it in the opposite direction to what I shook it before. And that seems to have fixed one side. But the other side is still buggered. So Gnome says she might attempt the risky strategy of actually trying to take a toaster apart. And I'm like, that's probably going to break more.
Well, yeah,
there's probably moving parts that are going to be really awkward to put back, depending on how they're chassied.
Yeah.
Word of the day.
Chassied.
How long bounce? No, I think bounce better.
Did you try taking this like a tray at the bottom? Isn't there like a crumb tray that you can remove easily?
Yeah, you can, but they're like the offending bit of Pop-Tart was nowhere near the crumb tray. It hadn't fallen that low.
Fair. Okay.
It was still in the sort of grilly bits.
Just jiggle it up and down rapidly.
Yeah, it was sort of outside the... Yeah, I don't, it's hard to really explain, but like, there's like a channel, isn't there, where the lifty bit is?
Yeah.
And it was like, it sort of wedged itself in the grill just outside the channel, so it wasn't in range of the lifty bit anymore. The lifty bit wasn't really affecting it, but it was... I felt like it had to go, otherwise I was going to get some serious burnage going on if I tried to turn that on again.
Yeah, probably. You need one of those Pop-Tart bags that you put so those aren't really... Are they for Pop-Tarts? I guess they kind of are.
Yeah, kind of toast bag things.
Yeah, toasted cheese, where you can make a toasted cheese sandwich in the toaster by putting it inside the bag.
Yeah.
To contain the cheese, basically.
Contain your cheese.
But I'm not sure whether they, would that work for a Pop-Tart? Because Pop-Tarts are obviously not designed for that.
No.
Like, with that extra layer of...
I mean, they're only supposed to be, very lightly heated anyway, right? Like they
just microwave a Pop-Tart.
Can you?
I don't know. That would be way easier.
I don't want a soggy Pop-Tart.
It might not be soggy. You don't know.
Almost anything in a microwave is soggy.
It shouldn't necessarily be, should it? Now we're going to talk about the mechanics of microwaves. You're not introducing any more fluid than there already is. I guess you're not letting it escape.
No, but it's like how pastries is. It's like if you put sausage rolls in the microwave, right? They go flaccid. Yeah, you get like a weak texture.
That might depend on what kind of sausage roll you're cooking, though.
I think maybe. I can't remember the last time I tried a short crust, in fairness, in the microwave, as opposed to like a puff.
And there can't be that much moisture in a Pop-Tart to start with, right? I mean, the centre bit, as we
it's
discovered,
jam,
is quite jelly.
I mean, yeah, but isn't that quite moistury if it got out of the jelly?
And anyway, when you're toasting it, surely none of that moisture would escape. It doesn't really have, the centre doesn't, it doesn't have vapour holes or whatever.
Vapour holes.
There's a whole family walking past your house just carrying a whole set of chairs.
Yeah, I saw that.
What, one chair each?
Yeah.
Like a dining set.
Yeah, like a dining set.
I wonder if they live nearby and they're going to like a family meal or something.
Bring your own chair.
Yeah, we haven't got enough chairs. Can you bring some? And then they thought, yeah, that's fine. We'll just walk down the street with these chairs.
So anyway, news, I guess.
I guess news, yeah.
I guess it's news time. What's been happening in the world of video games?
E3 has not been happening.
Nope, we're still 4 months early.
It wasn't due to happen until then, but it's not going to happen at all. Like, they'd already said they're not going to do an in-person thing, to which everyone was like, well, everyone who normally went to E3 was a bit like, oh. And now they're not doing a digital event either, to which everyone's like, well, unsurprising. It's not like E3 know what they're doing with, like, digital events anyway.
So maybe we finally have actually had the actual death of E3
Yeah.
now.
Is E3 dead? Yeah. Will it ever come back? No.
It's like unknown at this point, right? It's been a good few years.
Well, I mean,
But surely, like, you need some kind of date that then all the like major companies can do their like separate events around, right?
well, I mean, kind of. Like, they haven't even been doing that the last few years, really.
No, it's true.
No, because Sony have already broken away.
Yeah.
Nintendo broke away a long time ago, but I think they still had a presence.
Yeah, they still just do one of their things at E3 time.
Yeah, and they actually
have some amount at E3. Yes.
Yeah, they had a booth.
Yeah.
They didn't do like a big stage show anymore, but they had a booth at least, so people could get their hands on. But yeah, Sony pulled out.
But Nintendo can just move to doing their shit at their, Nintendo stores or whatever. Like, they have done smaller events in their, like, New York.
Yeah, where those exist, yeah, that could potentially be done. Microsoft just obviously hire out the Microsoft Theatre in LA to do their thing, which could happen whether E3 was a thing or not.
They could just be like Apple and just have an event by themselves.
Exactly, yeah. They could probably just leave, like, just hire it out for longer, right? And then convert after they do their stage show, like, have the booth build happen and then run their own little thing. Which they sort of already did at some of their events, right? They'd have like
they'd use that stage area.
Yeah, ready to go. So yeah, I don't think this changes very much. I'm assuming Microsoft will still do their thing as predicted. Everyone else was already doing video things, so they'll just be like business as usual. I reckon it'll still all happen in summer. I think we'll still get the showcases.
Yeah.
Apart from EA's, who we know already decided they're not going to do one this year.
They're still probably going to do the showcase part, not the other part.
No, it didn't. EA specifically said, like, we're not going to do a showcase. We're going to focus on, like, game-specific videos. Like, so there's not one video that you could sit down and watch and be like, here's everything we're doing.
I mean, is that really much different from a normal presentation?
I guess not, no. Not in EA's case, where each segment was, like, unnecessarily long anyway.
And had ridiculously abrupt cuts between them, essentially, where they just didn't transition well at all.
No.
They might as well have just been separate videos.
Have you heard about them wanting to change the name of FIFA series?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
that seems like a terrible idea.
Oh, absolutely. And guess what the name is?
Football?
They want to call it EA Sports Football Club.
That sounds more like a spin-off. It sounds like EA Street or whatever.
It sounds like a game mode within FIFA.
Yeah.
Right? Like, are they trying to?
But you can't not have it be called FIFA because that's part of the brand deal.
The licensing, yeah.
It's like
but
Madden.
they might not pay for the FIFA license or whatever.
But then you can't use the teams.
Then you can't use the teams, which is its whole thing. Because then
that's the same problem with the NFL. Essentially, that's why only EA can make NFL games because they're the only one who has the license for the teams.
Yeah. Then when FIFA Ultimate Team then ultimately doesn't work, right?
Yes,
because they need the players.
Real players.
I think they need the players, but maybe they can do a deal where they can get that without the name or something
individually.
God, that'd be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, no team is going to want to do that. No legal department is going to want to do that. I know they have difficulty with that actually in some of NFL, right? There are definitely some players where there's a challenge to legally use them because they're not just their rights aren't necessarily just owned by the club or by the NFL. It's like they have their own licensing deals. That's definitely a thing. I don't know if that's actually plagued soccer all that much, that kind of thing. Not that I'm aware of. And there's also weird stuff around college football, isn't it? Like, kind of like how that comes out of that. Like, are you allowed to really use the likenesses of footballers while they're in college?
Well, that is more of
how does that transition to NFL? And is that there's a trickiness there? I think.
I mean, the college situation also has layers of like, they are technically not yet adults, really, in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Likeness rights is a problem then. But I don't know.
I imagine they haven't signed an awkward contract before playing for college football teams.
Well, I don't know, because it seems like in a lot of cases with those American football college situations, there are like weird contracts going on, just not necessarily like, I don't know, adult contracts. Whatever you call that. They're very specific contracts that, like, you know, are phrased in specific ways to be like, it's always in that classic way of like, you're working here, but you're not actually working here. Those kind of, where you're making a contract, but you're not allowed to actually do these things because you're not old enough or whatever.
I'm just trying to think, like, what did you say it was? EA Football Club? Is that
EA Sports Football Club.
EA Sports Football Club, right. So what are you... I'm worried about, from the marketing perspective, why would you change the vernacular, right? Like, everyone, when they say they're going to play the football game, everyone says they're going to play FIFA.
Yeah.
Like, no one says they're going to play PES, let's be honest. It's... Like, yeah, like it's so ingrained. Like, if anything was to do the crossover, right, that we talk about sometimes between video games being this weirdly huge industry, but somehow still not in common consciousness all that often, FIFA is the thing that kind of pushes through that. FIFA and Mario.
And Call of Duty, I guess.
Yeah, and Call of Duty. Call of Duty's got there, I guess. And to a lesser extent,
like
Sonic.
It's like that line in Attack the Block, right?
Yeah.
Right now, feel like going home, knocking my door, playing FIFA.
Put on my pajamas and play FIFA. Yeah, it's... Why would you change that? You've got it. Like, unless FIFA are angry about that, and anyone who says the word FIFA doesn't think of FIFA, they think of the video game FIFA. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that would be a weird turn of events. Is that it's like completely the opposite end, where just FIFA doesn't want to be associated with the EA football game any longer, and they've disabled the license from that end.
But God knows why, right? It's not like,
I mean, there's not any reason to.
It's not like the core football of FIFA games is bad as far as
well,
we
I'm
know.
sure FIFA themselves are worried about the quality of the video game.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure they're only worried about the branding of the video game.
Yeah, and the money it perhaps pulls in from the licensing deal.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like the WWE have been particularly, let's say, good curators of their video game brand.
I mean, if this had happened like 1 or 2 years ago during the loot box situation with making all the gambling claims and all that stuff, I could have understood it then.
Yeah.
For FIFA being like, oh, we don't want to be associated with this potentially legal situation.
I mean, there might have been a legal argument that it takes them years to wind down, right? Because they would have already had the next game.
Would have already been done.
Yeah, and they'd have the next game in production, and it's like maybe FIFA would have to pay damages to get out of contract and all that. Yeah.
But that doesn't seem likely. If they are going to rebrand it, I don't think it's because of anything FIFA has done.
It's a terrible idea.
But we'll see. Maybe this is just a miscommunication of reporting, and it is just a separate spin-off football game or a sub game in FIFA or something.
I bet it's that, or some free-to-play variant,
or this is EA's Football Manager.
Yeah, I mean that seems likely, actually.
Could be.
That's not a bad shout. And look, because I don't know, because Sega still own Football Manager, right?
Yeah.
I don't actually know what kind of licensing that has, right? Like, is that maybe there's like tiers of the licensing? Like they have the FIFA license, but they have it only for management games, right? And EA have it for
actual football,
which then I suppose makes that career mode we were playing back in FIFA 13 kind of slightly dubious ground because it's sort of management.
Well, but then maybe that's why it sucks so much. Maybe they couldn't put any more than that in. Like that was the legal amount of management they could be allowed to have.
There's some boundary. Or maybe they have a non-exclusivity deal on the management side of things because Football Manager have had it for decades. Yeah, all kinds of weirdness could be happening there.
But we'll find out probably in June, I guess.
Yeah. Don't do it. That's my advice. Don't do it. It's like they're not going to change Madden, are they? I mean, I know Madden's dead now, but they're not going to change Madden. Everyone knows what that means. But I guess no one's alive to get angry at the fact they're using Madden. But
apart from maybe his relatives.
The estate of Madden.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they still have to get paid.
I mean, in which case, I'm sure they're very happy
Yeah,
it's still
exactly.
called Madden. Unless they don't try and do like some sort of holographic resurrection of John Madden.
I don't know how many of those games he's ever been in. Actual John Madden in a Madden game.
Probably not since the 90s.
Even as just a cameo.
Yeah. Or just a bit of like the title screen or something, which I think he was on some of the earlier ones.
Back when he was actually a football player. Probably not that old.
EA Football Club. Bad name.
We'll see.
Let's talk about Sony news. Let's talk about the they announced what Project Spartacus is. And Project Spartacus is what we already knew was going to be their rejigging of how they do their subscription services. Because the current situation is they have PlayStation Plus, which has extra benefits on PS5, but is a single thing. But they also had PlayStation Now, which is their
Streaming.
sort of streaming, but some stuff is downloadable service, which, was kind of in an odd place as a result. So Spartacus was designed to sort that out into something simpler. And the scuttlebutt was like, "Oh, this is Sony doing a Game Pass thing. They're going to compete. We're gonna see some action. Something good's coming."
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you now, it's pretty underwhelming.
oh, really?
Well, it's sort of underwhelming. There were good bits. There were good bits and bad bits. So let me lay it out for you. They've got 3 tiers now. The first of which is probably should have just been called PlayStation. It's the whole thing's still called PlayStation Plus. They're scrapping the PlayStation Now name, and the whole thing's just going to be called Plus. But like you've now got 3 tiers of that. So you've got PlayStation Plus Essential, which is basically what you get now. It is totally unchanged, stays at the same price. You still get your monthly games, you still get your online access, yada, yada, yada. Nothing new to see here. Next tier up is your Plus Extras, or Plus Extra, I should say. I don't know why I pluralized that. Which gives you a collection of downloadable games, a la Game Pass. And they're saying it's about 300 or 400 odd games available, which is a bit of a parity with what Game Pass currently offers. For, if you pay monthly, the exact same price as Game Pass.
Okay.
Their plus point is they are offering an annual payment option, which Game Pass currently doesn't have, which brings it down to £84 annually, which is a bargain, honestly. That's a great deal.
Right. Yeah.
That brings it down quite a bit and makes it quite a lot cheaper than Game Pass, if you do it that way, if you can do it that way. So the big downside in this, and this is true of all the tiers, and I'm going to introduce it here, is that collection of downloadable games is according to Sony, never going to include brand new releases. At least not first party ones. That, like, perhaps they'll do some deals with third parties, but on Sony's side, like when God of War Ragnarok comes out, for instance, it's not going to be on Plus Extra.
Very unlike Game Pass, right?
Very unlike Game Pass, yeah, where Microsoft have committed to making all of their first party titles on Game Pass day one.
Yeah.
So perhaps that explains the price differential. And also, I can sort of see it, right? PlayStation they're in the position where they make these high quality single player games. That's kind of their bag at the moment.
Indeed.
And you're not going to necessarily want to play all of them, probably. Like, not all of them are going to appeal, so they still want to carry their high price tag, basically, and get that launch window.
Keep that at
launch window cash.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah. They haven't said anything about when, like, what sort of time period you might expect things to then eventually launch on PlayStation Plus. They haven't said anything like that. But if it's anything like what's carrying on with the PlayStation Plus monthly, I think you can expect a good few years before they then turn up on the service. Because things like Horizon Zero Dawn eventually turned up on PlayStation Plus as monthly lists, but it was a good couple years later. So there's the rub. That's the main rub of what's going on.
Okay, doesn't seem overly generous, I have to say, in comparison.
Yeah, I mean it's still a hefty chunk of games, so it's probably a good option if you're trying to catch up. Maybe if you've got a bit of backlog.
Yeah, and if you've got a PS5 rather than a Series X,
I think there's because there's some detail I can't remember. Like PlayStation 5 owners do actually get a little more out of PlayStation Plus. I think what do they call it? There's like the essential. I think it used to be called like the PlayStation Plus Essential Bank or something, or Essential Collection, which is like another list of games. But maybe that all just gets roped into what this is. Don't know. I don't know enough about what that is. I think Jim Ryan went on to further say like they're a bit worried that if they moved to a Game Pass model in the same way and that put their first party titles out day one, that it would actually affect the development of those games. That they like that mentality might mean that all the Netflix, it's like let's give this a go. Oh, it's not for me. Like might actually impact how they make those games, because they might I guess there's an extra risk factor that they'll spend all this time making a game that people can just pick up and drop, whereas if you is
that a dig at Halo Infinite?
Yeah, possibly, or other Game Pass titles in general, like where it's like, well, yeah, they might not be as good a quality, and you could put them down so they don't design for that in the same way. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a weird, like a weird vicious circle, and it's like, yeah, you may have a point there. It's hard to argue against or for at this point, but I can sort of see what you're saying. But I also see what you're saying is that you like money, so that's.
Well, the other counter argument of that point is like, well, just make smaller games that are better for a lower cost. Make little games. Don't have to make these giant blockbusters all the time.
I mean, I'm 100% against that idea, right? Like, sorry, not against. the exact
I'm a total fuck you.
The exact opposite. Shit. The exact opposite of what I just said. No, I'm 100% with that. I'll talk about this a little later, actually. And it's like I kind of miss the tight campaign sort of games, right? Like high budget tight campaigns. It's not really a thing that's done anymore. And I assume like. Actually, if you tried to make one of those now, hopefully the budget isn't as high as it would need to be as a massive open world thing. I don't really know. I don't really fully understand, but I'm not a game developer ultimately. But I've got open world fatigue basically, and it's just like
you have had for years, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair enough.
So it's. I would not mind like if it influenced games to go in that direction. More often, not all the time. Of course, not all the time. Yeah. But it'd be nice to see some of those return. And I haven't even talked about the final tier yet, which is to me is the pointless tier. It's PlayStation Plus Premium, because Premium is better than Extra.
Yep,
Premium, dude.
Yeah, Premium. Which adds even more games to the list, but that by even more they mean backwards compatible stuff. So they will be adding the PS3, PS2, and PSP libraries to the list. And it also grants you access to game streaming, a la Xbox Game Pass game streaming. And that goes for a little bit more money each month, $13.50 monthly or £100 annually, which still, if you're paying annually, still works out cheaper than Game Pass. But yeah, you have to really care about your old games if that's what you're, to upgrade to premium. So for most people, it seems like premium's not going to be a thing they care about.
Sure.
Also, it's worth
Makes
noting
sense.
that for those that are true enthusiasts, that comes out a little wrong. Look, true enthusiasts emulate.
Right, so you wouldn't be using that service.
PS2 and PSP emulation has been very good for quite some time. PS3 emulation is approaching decent state, or may already be in an instant state. It's a decent state. It's been a while since I checked in. So yeah, the people that might actually care enough might be the people that don't need it, but it would be convenient.
Yeah, sure.
Emulation is very rarely convenient.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's for like, I don't know, people who want to play maximum number of games, including old ones, but don't want to have to faff around.
Yeah. Or have more money than sense, and just want the best.
And they want the premium. Yeah.
Premium, dude. So yeah, that's the sitch. That's
quite an array of options, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not so simple.
It sort of makes a bit of sense because they've got two separate things at the moment, right? Haven't they? They've got PlayStation Plus that you pay for separately from PlayStation Now, and having the whole thing reconsolidated as PlayStation Plus does make a bit of sense. That's fine
for sure. Yeah, completely agree.
And it's good of them to offer both. There's also a quarterly option, so you can pay monthly, quarterly, or annually, with the deal getting better if you pay in bigger chunks, which. Microsoft should probably do. There was a point in time where I think they did that for Gold. If you just wanted the online access, you could pay annually and save a bit that way. But I don't think they do that anymore, and they definitely don't do that with Game Pass. So the potential argument here is they're putting a price squeeze on Microsoft a little bit.
But they don't really have the resources to squeeze Microsoft.
Not right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're both made of money. They can do what they want. But
that's true. Fair. Interesting. Yeah. Well, it's good to have some healthy competition in the space. Absolutely. It was a bit weird that like Microsoft were the Netflix and like there was no Amazon or Disney Plus. Yeah. So
I think
things are correcting.
I don't think there's much, but as a result of this, I don't think there's much of an argument for having both, right? If you're...
Well, just like Netflix.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of an argument, isn't there? But because you'll get exclusives on that service, but like if PlayStation aren't putting their exclusives onto the service, then it's like...
Like you're not going to get this for sure.
No, I probably will, because I've essentially got the equivalent of Plus Essential because there are the monthlies that I occasionally dip into.
Yeah,
but I don't think I need the premium.
No,
I don't need another Game Pass like service because Game Pass fulfills my needs, and Game Pass has the third parties in it already. It's done well there, and I don't think I doubt Sony are going to pull in different third parties all that much. It might happen. The timing might be different between what's available where. So you might end up with that awkwardness that definitely exists on Netflix and other services. But hey, it is interesting.
Developments in the world of video games.
Maybe Nintendo should have paid more attention.
Nintendo has their Game Pass thing. It's just bad.
It's just bad. Yeah. So basically, they did the premium tier without any of the other stuff you're actually interested in. Talking about Nintendo, bad news for Dan's League prospects.
Bad news for you for not counterpicking it, even though we talked about it so much.
I thought about it, but it seemed like too big a risk.
Yep.
I never stood a chance.
Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed into 2023. They did apologise.
Well, Nintendo always do.
Yeah.
How long? Spring is on.
Yeah.
So okay. I think it's fairly safe to assume March because they surely at this point there's what we always said about it, where it's like, why are they releasing it in this year when they could release it? Obviously, they could release it in time with the anniversary of Breath of the Wild. Yeah. So now they've said spring. It's like, well, obviously March 13th, right?
Yeah. March is quite a common release window.
Well, that too
for like big. For some fairly large Nintendo titles.
Well, it's because it's the start of the financial year, obviously.
Well, it's more April, isn't it? But like, yeah, I guess
end of the financial year, whichever side of that you're aiming for.
Yeah. However that functions. So not surprising. A little disappointing,
Well,
but
like medium surprising.
Medium surprising, I guess.
I mean, they had at least said a year before this.
It's not that... I was about to say it's not that common for Nintendo to actually put a full-on delay on it, but it does seem to be happening more and more.
Well, they've realised that so long as they actually say that, as long as they're honest about it, people don't mind so much.
No,
Nintendo are the people who have actually worked that out about game development.
Yeah.
People don't actually mind waiting if you just make the thing good in the end.
Absolutely. If you make it complete and like a proper game out of the gate without needing updates for it to get good, then you've done your job. And you can hold the Nintendo tax for as long as you want. Because that's one of the main, clearly I don't think any of us have played it. Maybe Zach has, but that's something people pointed out about that Kirby game, right? The Forgotten Lands. It's like, this is a complete package.
Yeah.
It's always refreshing when that happens, and it's like, it shouldn't be refreshing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be refreshing for Nintendo because that's what happens every time, right?
Yeah.
If you've been playing any games on the Switch over the last 5 years, then that's just been happening.
I found it strange that was even raised for like a game like Kirby.
Well,
that was kind of the conversation.
I mean, I guess in Kirby's case, I think that it's only perceived that way more because the Kirby games have always been much more simple and I
suppose in recent memory.
Yeah, they've been much more like they started to feel like the new Super Mario Brothers games, where it's like, oh, this is just that game again.
Gotcha. Yeah, a little unusual for them to go out of their way, I suppose.
Yeah.
For Kirby to go out of its way. That game looks pretty good, actually.
Well, yeah.
I'm a little bit tempted.
Sure.
I mean, I hate some of the decisions that animation thing you mentioned. I went and had a look at the Digital Foundry thing, and it's like, there are places where that is awful.
Yep.
Like, really awful. Like, I'm not even sure that saves them much power, surely.
Yeah, that's what we said. It's like, how much could that really do for you?
But the core game looks good anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a go at the demo.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
You get a mouthful.
You get several mouthfuls.
Various mouthfuls. Yeah, several mouthfuls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Face full of it. Get your entire self full of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Kirby is just face. He's just a face.
It's just entirely face.
Max face. Is that what the face slider should be on games? And you turn it all the way up. It's just like replaces your body. Max face. This has fueled a few rumors that maybe this actually ties into the real Switch Pro happening.
Yeah.
Or Switch 2.
I mean, that would be, again, like, if you're timing it with the anniversary of Breath of the Wild, you're also timing it with the anniversary of the Switch.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, that's true, yeah. That's too much to wish for, I think.
I think that is a little wishful thinking.
Well, it's like, at this point, I'm not even sure they physically could make a new console. Like, getting parts is still such a difficult situation with the state of the global shipping at the moment.
Getting parts is still tough. Planning. I mean, speaking from experience, even in my work, there are bits of kit that we just can't make until we do a hardware revision now, because we can't get the parts we used to. So there's it's not normally a thing that bothers me because I'm software, right?
Yeah.
But there's a couple of details that bother me, and it's a pain in the ass, this whole deal.
And I mean, Nintendo, at least because of the Nintendo style of games, are the company that can get away with supporting one piece of hardware for a really long time by just making games that are for it, unlike the other companies who are too much graphics based almost.
Right. Yeah.
They always need to keep moving forwards, which is why the PlayStation 5 has been such a problem, coincidentally timed problem, but they weren't intentionally trying to make a game console whilst there were supply problems, and the supply problems just kind of intersected.
Yeah, they came to them. Speaking of which, apparently Xboxes of all varieties are now relatively easy to get hold of. Like the Series S and Series X have had a bit of a... I don't know if it's been like a sudden stock influx or if they're just not selling as well as PS5. I don't know the details there, but Anecdotally, it seems like getting hold of a Series X isn't that tough anymore.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it still
But then
seems hard to get a PS5.
Yeah, I was about to say, also anecdotally, a friend of mine did finally manage to get a PS5. he's got one. And it was one of those, like, he didn't put himself on any list or anything. He just went to a store one day and was like,
really?
Online, obviously, not in person. And was just like, I want one of these. And they were like, okay. It was that simple. So it apparently can happen.
Wow. That's amazing.
But yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not even looking at the moment. Like, there's a bit of me that's like,
well, you've got your next gen.
The Series X is doing me just fine. It's like, and the PS5 games I'm really interested in are still around the corner. So it's and I'm holding out hope for a PS5 Slim maybe in a year and a half's time, which is of course not going to happen because of the chip shortage. And it's like, but I don't want something that big.
It's massive, yeah.
It's massive. PS5. I just want to feel that controller, man.
Well,
I haven't felt that
you
controller.
could get that separately, I guess.
Yeah, but I want the haptics. It's like you need something. You need something that does the haptics properly. Like, I could get the controller and I could use it on a PC, no problem. In fact, I'm quite tempted by that because my PS3 controller that I'm currently using on my PC, just to, use old tech, why not? I haven't got my PlayStation about, but a PS3 controller seems to work just fine. It's quite a good way of playing things, actually. I quite like it. It falls apart less than my 360 controllers.
Well, I mean, you haven't clenched it as much yet.
No, it's arguably less clenchable.
Well, that too, the shape of it in general is a bit less clenched.
It's good for Rocket League. Less clenchable. I did download Rocket League for the PS4 in case I felt that way inclined, so I could play it on a console.
So now you have it on 3 different places.
4 different places.
Something slightly better than the Switch, right?
Yeah. Well, I could play it on my Xbox, but I crunch Xbox controllers. Like, I break them playing Rocket League, so maybe I won't break a PS4 controller playing it is my idea.
Less dairyly crunchables.
Yeah. Not that I would generally choose to play it there if the PC is on and accessible, or I can be faffed to sit in here some more. But sometimes I might like to sit somewhere else rather than in here, where I spend probably 80% of my waking hours.
Yeah.
Anywho, final stuff. We've got a game announcement. Hyper Light Drifter is getting a sequel.
Presumably a sequel anyway.
Well, yeah. It's called Hyper Light Breaker. It's a development in collaboration with Gearbox. It's just slightly odd. It's going to be in 3D, which is like very different from the original. But, it's not like Heart Machine are new to 3D now. They did Solar Ash last year. So, yeah, they've done some 3D stuff. It's going to include proper multiplayer co-op, they say, like not just one other guy, like several other guys.
That's the Gearbox part.
Because Gearbox, yeah. And it will be in early access on Steam in 2023.
Which, as I said, is weird because I've been seeing adverts for it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like advertising the early access, which is still a whole year away.
That's so strange to me. It really is.
Maybe that's the Gearbox angle. Use some of that Gearbox money.
Yeah, get the marketing machine going. The Heart Machine needs a marketing machine. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked Hyper Light Drifter. And I was especially fond of its abstract, no English nature kind of, it's got that kind of thing, the Fez vibe, sort of, going on. Especially helped by the fact the soundtrack was by the same guy. Disaster Piece did it as well. It was tricky, but yeah, quite liked it. Not a bad game. I don't know, that one little clip they show just makes it look like a very different thing. Like, because the rest of the intro you can't really, like the rest of that video, the announcement video, you can't really.
It's just an animated scene.
It's just an animated scene. It's not representative at all. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Well, maybe we'll see more at not E3.
More at not E3, yeah. More at Gearbox Presents.
Maybe.
Do you think? Probably. I mean, there'll be
Gearbox presents Randy's Magic Show.
Oh God, hope not.
Not again, anyway.
No, not again.
Surely not. I mean, they did it once and they got absolutely slammed for doing it. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, surely not.
Ugh. Right, moving on from that. That's the news.
Not quite.
Ooh, Zach's got mystery news.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly.
news.
It's sort of. I guess it is news, but it's more of just a weird discussion that I wanted to talk about for a second.
Weird discussion.
My
section.
favourite.
And also, the thing that I seem to keep bringing up is random legal things
Hey.
in the game industry.
Legal update with not at all lawyer Zach.
No.
The legal
And
eagle.
barely remembering the actual story, Zach. So this was a thing I'm going to try and vaguely keep to the actual chronological progress of this story, so I can actually maintain what happened.
Okay.
So in early March, Bungie were filing some copyright takedowns for some OST stuff that was being uploaded to YouTube, which is that's just normal business happenings going on there.
By random people.
Right. So, okay. Yeah. That
Destiny 2 music was
Destiny
being
2
uploaded.
music. Okay. Yeah. That was going to be my first question because didn't Destiny 1 have ties to Paul McCartney and
Yes.
and potentially Marty O'Donnell, which is
They had their whole legal trouble with that.
Yeah, which was privately resolved, I believe, so we never really knew what exactly
I think in this case it was music from the new not really DLC because that's not exactly what Destiny does, but the new update.
Okay.
The new music was getting uploaded immediately, so they were taking that down.
Sure. I mean that happens with pretty much every game now.
So that was happening in early March. So then in mid-March, a bunch of other Destiny 2 related videos started getting copyright strikes.
Huh.
Which
for including the music because they were playing it?
No, but they were just getting copyright strikes, which then the community got pissed off about.
Of course.
Because they were like, Bungie, what the fuck are you doing? So then Bungie responded basically with saying it wasn't us.
YouTube's done something dumb.
Well, no, it was someone else posing as Bungie.
Oh no.
But then it got weird because then the person who was issuing all the fake takedowns sent out an email to the people he had been doing takedowns on, basically saying, I was the one doing this, it's totally fake, and here's why.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so his reasoning for doing this, according to this email anyway, is that basically he believed that someone else had also been doing a bunch of random takedowns, random DMCA copyright strikes on YouTube on other Destiny stuff. So he was only doing this big spam right now to basically get Bungie's attention to be like, hey, you should probably look at your takedown situation and see where all these fake takedowns are coming from, not just my ones.
This is my way of showing you it's possible.
Yeah.
Highlight it, right.
But the thing, so this is slightly set up for what's going to come. So he had made a spoof email account to make it look like a legitimate takedown or whatever. And it was a person's name, company name @gmail.com, and the company was a digital rights management company that Bungie are known to use.
Right.
So he was trying to spoof the email to look like this company legit. But it was a Gmail account.
Right, yeah.
And in his email, this email he sent out, he specifically said, if you see a Gmail, it's probably not legit, because why would an actual company be using a Gmail account?
Yeah.
And then he also calls out this other Gmail account that he says is one of the other people who have been spoofing in the past. And it's basically the exact same format, name, company name @Gmail.
Okay, yeah.
Same company even, because obviously he'd seen that before from his dealings with it, so he'd copied that spoof.
Gotcha. Oh, so he was someone that got struck by
it's assumed, judging by the way he's talking about this whole situation, he's saying that I got struck by these other fake things, so I started doing this to call more attention to it.
Right, gotcha.
So then it got even weirder, because then Bungie filed a lawsuit against him, the spoofer.
Oh no!
And anyone else. But basically, it's a Bungie versus John Doe's, because they don't have any actual. They're all anonymous, obviously, because it's just email addresses at this point.
Yeah.
So Bungie wants to find out who these people actually are, basically. But then, so this is where it got really weird, because Bungie is filing this lawsuit.
So I guess they couldn't specifically filter him out.
Yeah.
Because they don't know who he is.
They just have to target all the people who have been spoofing fake copyrights.
Gotcha. So maybe he'll be all right.
Well,
maybe.
Probably not. But so it's Bungie against these anonymous people. But inherently, due to that situation, basically Google and YouTube are sort of roped into this lawsuit because they are the ones who will have the information of these people that Bungie wants to find out who they actually are.
Uh-huh.
But then this Bungie lawsuit basically just shits on YouTube for the entire document and being like, your YouTube's copyright takedown system is real crap and easily exploitable.
Uh-huh.
Basically, Bungie are agreeing with the spoofer guy that the takedown system is bad.
But they have to go about it this way.
But they can't. It's just like this lawsuit is sort of parallel to YouTube, but YouTube are going to get sucked into it because the information is stored in their servers or whatever. So Bungie are taking this opportunity to basically say YouTube shouldn't have even allowed it to get to this point. Their system should have been more robust or whatever.
I wonder if it's their way of saying, or being able to open the door to a lawsuit later.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, by going this way and it failing, but it then at least highlights all of the YouTube stuff that they then have a case that they can perhaps present against them.
Yeah. But then the ultimate weirdest part, it's actually quite a small part of this overall lawsuit and Bungie complaining about all the different aspects of this copyright system. It turns out that the second email that the spoofer was pointing out as being fake, that wasn't a fake email. That was a real email from the actual company. They were just using a Gmail account.
No way.
But then
that's awful.
But then what Bungie said about that is that supposedly the corporate version of the DMCA takedown system of YouTube, you have to use a Gmail account to access, which the people have then speculated that it's actually Bungie have misunderstood slightly. You have to use a Google account, but you can have a non-Gmail Gmail address attached to the Google account.
Yeah, you can do that.
So you could have a corporate email attached to
mine is that way.
Yeah. So maybe that's an misunderstanding on Bungie's part, but if it's not a misunderstanding on Bungie's part, then that's a fucked up system. Because then it requires you to use a Gmail account and then it looks fake, which is what the spoof guy thought it was, but it wasn't. And it wasn't actually fake all along. That was actually the actual legitimate copyright company managing Bungie's things. So the thing that he was pissed about of fake takedowns, they weren't actually fake takedowns all along. They were actually the real Bungie takedowns.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. What a crazy story.
So, let me get this straight. Bungie's takedown company are assholes.
Well, no, because
because they started this whole thing by they did takedowns, but they shouldn't have done them in the first place.
Well, we don't really know because we don't know what the takedown that pissed this guy off originally was,
right?
And whether it was legit.
Yeah, whether it was a legit takedown and he's just pissy about it.
Huh?
And this guy, the spoof guy who's trying to raise awareness of whatever the fuck's going on with this guy, is he in trouble or not? Or what?
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on what the lawsuit turns out to do. Whether YouTube actually decides to get involved and give the information, even because they probably could just not. They probably could just dismiss that almost entirely.
It depends.
To say privacy,
It depends. They could get a court order.
Yeah, I mean that would be the idea. Like the idea of the lawsuit is to court order the information out of YouTube, essentially.
I mean, that can happen.
Yeah. But whether they'll actually, maybe the way this whole lawsuit is written, where it is just basically dissing YouTube the whole time, it almost feels like Bungie doesn't really want to pursue it. They just wanted a chance to shit on YouTube for a while in a legal way.
Yeah. I mean, I doubt they're the first corporation to have a proper go at YouTube for their systems.
But Bungie are tiny compared to YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're also not small either, because let's not forget that Bungie are now Sony.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
They were part of
That's
Sony.
True. That's true now. Yeah. Forgot about that.
But yeah, I thought that was a very weird story. And it's just like one of those situations where...
Ultimate weirdest.
It's just one of those situations where, I mean, I guess the spoof guy kind of got what he wanted. Like, Bungie
yeah.
actually got involved on a legal scale, and then on a legal scale, you actually get to see this kind of information. So you actually do get to find out these weird background details of like how the whole system works.
Potentially, yeah.
So yeah, who knows?
Unless this whole thing just gets thrown out.
Well, I mean, sure.
Which I think is actually quite likely.
Yes. I mean, there's not really much actionable, I guess, in that lawsuit, really. It's just like, give us this anonymous guy's information is about all you can really say that Bungie's even aiming to do.
And I doubt they'll actually want to pursue... I don't think they'll actually pursue this guy. That feels counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But I think... And maybe I'm getting this wrong because I'm not exactly involved with the Destiny community, but thinking of Bungie of old... They've got a pretty decent track record of working with the community.
I mean, yeah, that's sort of why this became a thing, is because Bungie had been well known for having a decent relationship with their community. Even just these communications where they said, like, after that, when the second round of takedowns happened and Bungie were like, that wasn't us. That sort of, that's that.
They're at least weighing in.
Yeah, they were saying, like,
hold on, guys. Yeah.
These were illegitimate takedowns, so we're going to look into it. But maybe the community wouldn't have expected it to go this far exactly. But
yeah, what a weird story. I mean, I guess Bungie didn't realize their own hired help presumably are using what looks like a slightly weird account.
Well, I mean, I guess like you don't necessarily know exactly how weird that is, but I mean, they are right that the DMCA takedown system of YouTube is bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Because you literally can just write in pretty much any email address, type in the company name of the company you're supposedly representing, and then answer a few basic questions, and then that's it.
And say, I own this.
And you just say, I have the legal rights to this, checkbox tick, and then the video goes down.
Which is, yeah, I mean, on some level, if you have legitimately been stolen from, and you don't want your material used in that way, you kind of do want it that easy.
Yeah.
But, perhaps maybe someone needs to verify these.
I mean, the super high level discussion of this is that, the whole DMCA system is, ridiculously unbalanced towards... Because it's not really that YouTube have made choices to make a bad system. It's that they're complying at the level that they're required to, which is real shit because the law is just bad.
Sure. I'm just trying to think what would I do if someone actually ripped off or used some of my music without permission, say, on a thing. It's I wouldn't be that annoyed because
but it's a very different situation.
Yeah. It's obviously I don't make money out of that stuff, and it's kind of it's not an important part, but I think I'd still be a bit miffed that they didn't ask.
Right.
If it was an OC remix track, fine. I've got no leg to stand on because that's the deal with an OC remix track. That's fine. One of my tracks ended up playing on Awesome Games Done Quick a while ago, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Quite proud of that. Doesn't mean anything. OC remix has got thousands of stuff, but still, I was quite proud of it. Yeah, but if it was a random thing, say I post some stuff to SoundCloud incredibly rarely.
Yeah.
Because most of my stuff isn't for public consumption. And it's just, if someone had ripped something from there and put it on their own thing, without asking me, I think I'd be a bit annoyed. I have been asked for stuff in the past, and it's yeah, sure, go. Use this. Do what you want with it. Just let me know what show me the finished thing. Maybe give me a credit. That kind of stuff. It's go nuts. I'm not that precious, but yeah, just ask me. That's all I think anyone can ask. I don't need a DMCA takedown to do that work for me.
I mean, there is technically another level of the legal layers to this, where you have those. Because Bungie has one of these where it's an agreement. Because you have the software license of Destiny 2, which specifically basically says don't use any of our shit.
Yeah.
But then you have this weird legal grey area of streamer agreements or whatever, where Bungie's well, we'll let you upload some of our stuff, but we reserve the right to take it down whenever if we decide to, even though this other document says just don't.
Yeah. It's a tricky thing because it's OSTs on YouTube have generally avoided pretty much all takedowns, unless
except Nintendo.
Oh, really?
Nintendo have been cracking down on it a lot recently.
That's true. Nintendo cracked down on everything. Nintendo don't like it when you generally use footage of their own games from stuff they themselves published as trailers.
Yeah.
Like, they're kind of total dicks about it. But yeah, generally there's an agreement where if like the music was originally written for a game and you're streaming that game or you're hosting content from that game, that's fine, right? That's totally acceptable. That's why the streamer modes in games exist, to try and avoid stuff, to remove any music that would be a license nightmare.
Yeah.
And possibly get auto-striked. As I say, unless some of this music from Destiny 2 is actually subject to a third-party artist that is precious.
Well, there is the second, like, alternate layer to that where if you're just uploading the music, because, I mean, people do that on YouTube, where it's, it's not even a video, really. It's just the music
it's
track.
a static card with the music.
So that's not really like streaming the game. That's a different layer of
it is different
copyright, I suppose. Because it's not fair use because you're not transforming it. You're just uploading the raw game, raw track.
Which is trickier. But sometimes that's the only way you can actually listen to stuff.
Well, yes, but that's a different problem.
Yeah, it's a different problem.
If companies would upload their own shit, then we'd all be good.
I mean, it's nice when most of the time this stuff ends up on Spotify. In the modern era, actually quite a lot of stuff ends up on Spotify.
Yeah.
But I did find myself hunting the Lost Odyssey soundtrack, which I think exists on Spotify, but only in Japan.
Weird.
So YouTube was where I went for that. You could have had my play money, right? That's the thing. If you'd have put it on Spotify, you'd have had my play money.
But they probably get the advertising money from YouTube because it probably is copyright strike, just not take down copyright strike. The advertising money probably just goes to them.
Possibly. Yeah, then you'd expect there to be ads on those things, right?
Well, I mean, sometimes. Depends.
My fight money.
So anyway, that's that.
Yeah, interesting one. Also, while we're talking about like random little asides, not quite as interesting as that, AMD put a thing out saying they're introducing this thing called FSR2 to their that the Xbox apparently will benefit from. I think FSR is their algorithmic version of DLSS.
Right.
The upscaling, the temporal upscaling anti-aliasing technology that NVIDIA have is DLSS. And it's
the deep learning one.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
But AMD's one is an algorithmic version, so it doesn't require the machine learning step, so it's easier for developers to implement. Right. And apparently FSR1 has been available for a while, with some games making use of it, but FSR2 apparently brings significant performance improvements. So, yeah, we might see more games using stuff like that and being able to squeeze out more detail. They were using Deathloop, I think, as an example in their video to be like, look at the difference. There aren't any.
So that's the most dangerous kind of comparison video where you're showing the exact same thing twice, essentially, and be like, look at these two totally different things that we promise are totally different.
Yeah. They basically had native on one side, native 4K on one side, and FSR2 4K on the other side, which was running at a lower internal res. And it's like, can you see the difference? We can't. Kind of thing. So yeah, maybe performance. There may be performance ahead. Don't copyright strike me. Anyway, yeah, minor little thing I saw randomly popped up on my recommended YouTube's list. I haven't seen it on many news feeds, but like that seems kind of important, right?
Sure.
Next gen performance improvements.
Yeah, I mean DLSS seems to be like quite an advantage for NVIDIA.
It's magic to me, right? I don't understand.
Well, it is. I mean, deep learning is kind of like magic, isn't it?
Yeah, but
just in many applications.
But that it works at all, like right? There's a bit of my brain that just can't. I can't really grasp like how you can underscale something so much as DLSS is, and the upscaling be as good as it is. But it's literally through machine learning, right? They train it. They must play the game, in a million different ways at full or even higher, like at 8K on a super machine, and then train a model on that, and then give it at the same time as running it. They must output it at 8K and at full, something low like 720p, and then just train the model. Here's how you turn this into this.
Go.
And it's like,
exactly.
sure, there's artifacts and stuff, and like it seems to struggle with like tiny particles, and some elements of motion aren't great. But then,
sure.
But then existing TAA techniques aren't great with that stuff either.
No. Theoretically, you could improve that by improving the model, right? Like,
yeah.
Keep working on it, make it better.
And they have done that. There are things in like NVIDIA driver updates have literally improved DLSS. The games that have already been trained on stuff and are already out, and they probably haven't done any more training on. Like they then just put up a driver update, and it's like, oh no, we've made that better, and it's like, oh okay, yeah, you have.
I mean, it does mean you have to download the trained model or whatever.
I think I don't know how that works. Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess some of the games just come with that, right? But the model is just part of the game package. But occasionally I think NVIDIA done drivery stuff that that has just cleaned up some of these artifacts for free. I don't know if those end up being game specific things that NVIDIA themselves are doing. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. That's probably something they do.
Yeah, I think so. For big titles, yeah. Sure.
I think they did some stuff for Cyberpunk a while back and things like that. But anyway, just the fact
it doesn't matter how good Cyberpunk looks, though. It's just horrifically broken.
Yeah, we might find out soon. I think I'm on the verge of trying it.
Okay.
I think.
Man, is it time for what you've been playing then?
Yeah, running long.
Well, you better get going.
Lucky I don't have much to talk about.
Go for it then, Zach.
Well, I played... Okay, the major thing that I played was I randomly... I guess because of playing Empire Earth, I was thinking about RTSs, and I was like, I'm going to play Supreme Commander.
Right.
So I did.
He didn't go back to Total Annihilation then?
No.
A step forward, at least.
Supreme Commander 1, though.
Yes, that's the thing. Because I when I was thinking about Total Annihilation and Supreme Commander 2 and Planetary Annihilation... And because I have recently considered going back into Planetary Annihilation as well.
You reckon there's been enough updates?
Well, it's because of that weird thing that we talked about before on the podcast, where the community team had taken over updating the game, and then they'd actually done quite severe work to it. They'd actually revamped quite a lot of that game. So I was thinking about going back to that.
Which is interesting in itself.
Yeah, but so I was like, okay, I mean, I guess I'll go back because I'd kind of forgotten. Well, the first thing I'd forgotten was most of Supreme Commander, which is why you'd go back to it, right? Because you don't remember the actual game. I remember quite a lot of Total Annihilation because I played through that whole campaign not incredibly long ago, more recently than you'd think, and also actually got through the whole campaign of Total Annihilation, which I don't think I never did that in my childhood days.
God, no, I didn't because
we were dumb.
I didn't even get close. Yeah, I found TA really tricky.
Yeah. There were certainly a couple of missions, especially, which were very hard.
I think it's I find it, TA is super cool.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. But it's one of those, strategy games where I found the joy in just building a base and not actually doing any of the fighting. As soon as I got to the fighting part of it, it's I don't actually like this.
Yes. And in some ways, Supreme Commander is quite a lot like that. I guess you could say even more so in Supreme Commander because they've introduced things like, the shields and whatnot that just improve the ability to turtle.
Right, yeah.
It's all about building up your huge base.
Which was my favourite TA strategy. Turtle up, get the nukes, win.
Yeah. Or the Big Bertha. Just shoot things from across the map.
That was so much fun. It was just so much fun just to set a cannon up, vaguely aim at where you think things are and have it just go badoosh.
Yep. Slice them. So yeah, I went back to Supreme Commander 1, because I'd also forgotten Supreme Commander 2 I actually have on Steam. I'd forgotten I actually got that at that stage. And also, I guess I also went back to the podcast where we talked about it, because I was like, I don't remember much about Supreme Commander 2 either. So I went back to the first podcast I could find where we talked about it. And at that time, which can't have been... It must have been the same year that Supreme Commander 2 came out, but I was like, I waited until it was £5, which I guess maybe tells you something about the quality of that game. Yeah. And then I listened to our discussion about Supreme Commander 2, where I was talking about all the shittiness of it. I was like, oh yeah. I'm glad I didn't go to Supreme Commander 2, I guess. Go back to Supreme Commander 1, which is at least a bit of a better game. Probably.
You don't need to go into the detail, but is that because it you just disagreed with it yourself, the mechanics? They
changed a lot of stuff in Supreme Commander 2, which made the sort of the sort of skin styling of Total Annihilation not make sense any longer.
Right.
So to go into one detail that we talk about on that podcast, in Supreme Commander 2, they basically fucked up the whole idea of the streaming economy. Like now in Supreme Commander 2, you actually have to have the resources in the bank to build a thing.
Yeah.
Rather than you just stream the resources in over time, and if you're using too much resources, it just builds slower. In Supreme Commander 2, you have to have the resources in the bank to start the construction.
I see, because you could plan everything out in both TA and SC, and you just sort of say, I want this. Here's the plan.
But if you don't have the resources, it's just going to be real slow.
Yeah. Okay. So it went a bit more traditional, I guess.
Yeah, it's basically that was the problem with Supreme Commander 2 is like it's trying to look like Supreme Commander and Total Annihilation, but they've changed so many mechanics that what they have doesn't make sense any longer with the Total Annihilation style.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So anyway, Supreme Commander 1, when I went back to that, I got in there and then I remembered that maybe there are still problems with Supreme Commander 1. One of which is tried.
Wasn't it always just get the big things?
Well,
and you win.
Kind of. Well, I mean, I've only been playing the campaign, which is sort of different because obviously you're limited. One of the problems with it is they tried to have characters.
Did they?
Yes, there's voice acting, and you actually the free teams have their own different reasons for fighting, and
they're trying to StarCraft it.
Yes, basically. But yeah, that's where TA obviously wins. Don't have any characters at all, just generic commanders. The last two commanders in the entire universe who've been fighting for 1 billion years.
Yeah.
and civilization doesn't even exist any longer. It's just a war machine.
Huh. I didn't realise that was actually the TA story.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, in this one, they have these characters. And the slightly even more dumb thing is, like, in Supreme Commander, they call it the Infinite War, because that's what it was called in Total Annihilation. But it's only been going on for 1,000 years. It's not even close. It's not even close to TA's timescale of war. It's only been, like, a few generations, and you're calling this an Infinite War already? And it's not even large scale of conflict, really.
I mean, 1,000 years would be pretty long if it's like the first war that lasted 1,000 years, in fairness.
Yeah, I guess. But it's also a space war. I mean, I guess they have instant jump technology, so it's not like there's not like travel time is a problem like in Space Wars can be.
Right, yeah.
But yes, you go in there and it's the Infinite War. But the 3 different teams don't even... The thing is, they call it the Infinite War, and they're saying it's been going on for 1,000 years. But it seems like one of the teams, the Aeon, the sort of alien-infused team, except they're not actually... The story with Aeon is that, like, they found an alien species, and these alien species were nice, peaceful aliens, and they got on really well with these first humans that met them.
Until they murderized them.
Well, yeah, until a terrorist faction of humans wiped out all the aliens, and then the Aeon were just like, well, we're going to continue with these aliens' beliefs or whatever. We're going to continue their way of existing. And then that became a problem against the traditionalists or whatever, and they got involved in the war.
Right.
But that doesn't seem like that happened even 1,000 years ago.
Right, so they're quite a recent addition.
That's the way
that's
it
fine. That
feels.
could happen. Like, it could evolve into that.
But then the other side that you're fighting, the other of the third side is like the cybernetic side, basically, where like you have the purists, the original Earth Federation or whatever, who are just like the generic guys, and then you have the cybernetic people who are oppressed or whatever, because the original Earth people have control programs that limit the cybernetic people. Slavery or whatever.
Sometimes you think like that's kind of interesting in a weird way, because it's sort of the opposite actually to how most of these tales play out. Like the cybernetics are usually the haves, and the regulars are the have-nots.
But yeah,
I mean, even Scarlet Nexus has a storyline like that.
Yes, I mean brains, obviously.
Brains and duds. Brains and duds.
There's actually a lot of brains in the Cybran story. I mean, the main guy is just a brain in a jar with a hologram who you talk to.
Sweet.
And he has a really weird character as well. I'd forgotten about this, but once I heard it again, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this guy, because it's like they mention the other Cybran people in the conversations mention it, where it's like, oh, he's a bit strange, basically. He's a genius, but he's a bit weird, like geniuses tend to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe it's like a copying error when he got uploaded to the digital brain or whatever. But he just randomly interjects in the middle of in the middle of his paragraphs of speech, he just randomly goes, "Oh yes," just occasionally. He would just be like, "Blah blah blah." Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Duff man.
And he calls you my boy also.
Your boy.
My boy. Oh yes.
Boy.
Shaboy.
But yeah. And then the sort of other problem with Supreme Commander is that, like, they want to make a huge scale warfare game.
Sure.
But then everything is tiny.
Yeah.
The units are so tiny that most of the time you're just commanding icons.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm very like in the brief moments I've watched you play that, like, and that's not a lot, but like I remember seeing it on your machine years ago.
Yep.
And yeah, you always played it in icon, or like so far zoomed out, everything was just a green or red square.
Yep.
And it's like, because the maps are huge and there are so many units, and it's like it's impossible to manage any other way.
Well, and also like they turn into icons so quickly because the actual models of the units are so tiny as well.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you start to zoom out, it just goes to icons because otherwise you wouldn't even be able to see the actual model.
You wouldn't tell. Yeah.
And also,
so like any graphics work they did is kind of a waste.
Yes. And also just like the models of the units are maybe quite indistinct to start with.
I suppose we don't know, but like how did Total War and games like that get around that problem? Because they must have a similar issue, right? It's maybe not quite as big, but
yeah, it's not. Yeah, I guess it's not as big. But
yeah.
I guess you could easily make arguments that it doesn't need to be as big in Supreme Commander. There's a lot of just empty space. There's a lot of travel time.
I think Total War Warhammer is free on Epic right now.
Yeah,
coincidentally,
you could go and get that. So yeah, I mean, I played through the Federation campaign and half of the Cyberun campaign, and that also runs into the same problem as Total Annihilation, where there's just like a couple of those missions are really much harder than the ones surrounding them. Difficulty spikes. Although there's not nearly as many missions as Supreme Commander. It's only like a 7-mission campaign for each side, so it's quite short. But yes, you do get into the realm of like the super units are just the win button, and like you have to build nuke defense because nukes will be coming,
right?
And you have to build shields because artillery will be coming.
And is that just because of how the AI plays? Do you think?
Well, I mean,
are they legitimate? Like, oh, you have to pick one and be careful in order to speed build for competitive play.
Well, yeah, I don't know how it is in actual. Even in skirmishes, I guess, because obviously the campaign is all preset. Everything's going to appear at certain times. But yeah, from what I remember from playing skirmish ages ago, the first time I was playing these games, like you do have to like nuke defense is essential because if you don't have it, there's no that is just the instant counter. You have to have it, or nukes will destroy you, and like. Obviously, because it's a Total Annihilation style game, if your commander is standing somewhere that's not under a shield and not under nuke protection, it's going to get shot on nukes because that's how you win. You kill the commander.
Because I wonder if that's like a hilarious bluff play or something in actual competitive play, where you don't build one of the protections,
and you make them think that they are, and then you're spending the resources to make more of your own nukes instead of nuke defense.
So you can rush them a bit faster.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of scouting that goes on in that game.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
It kind of negates that.
It's like if you haven't been scouted, it's like, okay, how long do I get away with this?
I mean, they did try and implement like stealth. Because there's two different versions of stealth where you have radar stealth and optical stealth. So you can have stealth fields that only cloak you from radar, or camo that actually cloaks you from optics but not from radar. And then there's a couple of units that also have like jammers where they create fake radar pulses.
Oh, I see.
So it messes up the minimap. But it's still a matter of like, if you fly a plane over them, you're pretty much going to see it. There's not that many things that have optical stealth. There's much more radar stealth because you can just build like the shield towers. You can just build a stealth tower so that radar shields a certain area around it.
Yeah, because I guess that was TA's problem once.
Because once you had the long range radars where you can target things across the map, and then you have artillery that can shoot across the whole map.
It's very little,
or nukes.
There's very little surprises, but at that point, it's like you couldn't launch an attack and be like, "Oh, that I wasn't expecting that."
Yeah. And that maybe is why Supreme Commander also started to move towards dropships being a sort of major component, where you can pick up a bunch of units and drop them off in a different place. But then, say you attach a radar stealth unit as a cargo to that dropship, so the whole thing becomes stealth.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, you just go through those campaigns and build some crazy shit and blow stuff up. You don't actually, because I finished the UEF campaign, and you don't even get to build all of their super units. Actually, I guess I didn't build any of their super units. On the last mission, you get the submersible aircraft carrier as an option, but I didn't really see the reason to spend the resources on that because of the map type that you were on.
Right, you didn't need it.
Didn't seem to favour that kind of shit. And also, I didn't remember how useful that was, because I think it might, because it's called a submersible aircraft carrier, and this is maybe another problem with the game, is like a lot of the unit tooltip stuff in the build menu, and even when you select the unit, don't really tell you what they do very well. And I don't remember whether the submersible aircraft carrier is also like a factory. I think it might be.
It would make sense,
because one of the other big UF experimental units is like the land factory, where it's basically a giant tank that is also a tank factory. So I think the submersible aircraft carrier might have onboard aircraft building, so you can build the aircraft while you're submerged and then come up and then launch them all. Because the Aeon one, the Aeon have one that's kind of like that, the giant flying saucer that has aircraft factories built into it as well, so it can fire out. No, actually, I think that's a separate. I think they have two giant flying things: the giant flying Death Saucer with a Independence Day beam, and the one that's an aircraft launching flying device. And then you see a lot of the stupid Cyber and Spider tanks, which are like the cheap experimental units. That's where you see a lot of them, because they're much quicker to build. Not that's mattering in the campaign; they're just spawned, but you see them a lot more, and they're slightly easier to destroy than the other experimentals. But even in the campaign, it pretty much just comes down to shoot the commander in the face until a giant nuclear explosion happens. Whenever there's a commander on the map, you know that's just what you have to target. And I don't remember whether it is an option in Supreme Commander 1 or whether this only happened in 2. I think it might only appear in skirmishes in Supreme Commander 1 because you can change the like rules of the skirmishes. But like I think you can upgrade your commander. There's like 3 upgrade slots for like the 2 arms and the backpack. I think one of the upgrades is basically the eject system. So you can have your commander blow up, but then you don't automatically lose because you actually eject.
Oh, okay. So like suicide, but not quite, because you survive.
But then so you then have to get somewhere, and then you can build yourself a new commander.
Well, because you can also have secondary commanders on the field. Like if you build a quantum gate, you can call in another commander essentially. So I think if you have the eject system, that basically means you don't lose if one of your commanders blows up, as long as you've got another one. But yeah, that's the Supreme Commander being Supreme Commander, I guess. But then Supreme Commander 2 fucked it all up, apparently.
Happy days.
And I reinstalled this from my discs, of course.
Yeah.
And was fairly surprised that it just worked. I mean, it's not that old, but got games for Windows Live on the box. And
and that wasn't a problem.
Well, no, because it's not games for Windows Live, it's Games Live or what? Not the online service,
just games for Windows.
Yeah, it's games for Windows.
Right, yeah, the branding more than
because it actually tries to use GPG-net, their proprietary online connectivity thing.
Okay, yeah. Because I was just thinking, actually, because like, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I've got one of the things we sort of toyed with potentially doing videos of was Viva Pinata, right? Because I've got a PC copy of that.
Yeah, and that's definitely Games for Windows Live.
That's Games for Windows Live, yeah.
See if there's a patch for it to fix whatever there might be.
I hope someone's come up with a crack for it.
I mean, that would make sense. They fixed Dark Souls or whatever.
Yeah, I think Dark Souls has a slightly bigger following than Viva Pinata.
Maybe nowadays.
Probably now, yeah.
I think probably, yeah.
So that was Supreme Commander. Still the same piles of units. Still still a classic situation of just like make a big ball of units and just chuck them at things and hope that you win.
Yep, hope it comes out.
Don't worry about rock, paper, scissors, really. Just build 10 of everything. That's
kind of the thing, isn't it? That's my problem sort of with like these sort of things. There's like you don't have to really, if you've got like one of everything, like you've negated the problem.
Except that's like,
I mean that doesn't work in like games like StarCraft because of ranging
and because of like specific unit counters and that kind of balance situation that they have, and because it's better to just spend more resources making one thing than distributing resources across several things for upgrades as well.
Yeah, sure. Because time is more of a
resource.
Is it? Yeah.
Whereas when you're turtling, not so much. Mm-hmm. And that's maybe even more exploitable in the campaign where there's quite a lot of mission objectives that are very not time limited. It's like, defeat the enemy commander, but you know that this mission isn't done yet. So maybe what you should do is not defeat the enemy commander and just build up your base before whatever happens after you defeat the enemy commander.
Right, yeah. That was too fast. There must be some more stuff you're about to throw at me.
Well, the weird thing is in Spring Island, you can actually sometimes tell just by looking at the map, because like
or there'll be a chunk of map that you can't get to.
Yeah, because basically the map expands when new mission objectives appear, but like there's a sort of a blueprint area outside the map that shows you what the size of the map will be at the end. So you can sort of see like the map is going to expand in this direction because this edge is still the actual edge.
So at least they're sort of, I guess that's fair.
Well, yeah, because it helps with defences where you're just like, you don't necessarily know where things are going to come from at the start of the mission because the map is so small. But if you look at the overview, you can be like, okay, so the map isn't going to extend this direction, it's only going to extend this direction, so I should probably focus my defences on this side of the base.
Yeah. I mean, it sort of makes sense that you might have tactical awareness of the area outside the AO, right?
Yeah.
Because it's planetary scale. It's like, it's supposed to really... Something would have scouted the area.
You would hope. But no, you got to build shitty scout aircraft that are always just going to immediately die.
Yeah.
They are so suicidal. You just fly them in and the AI immediately shoots them. But the funny thing about that is like, when the scout aircraft gets shot down, you still get vision from them as they're crashing.
Oh, nice.
So like, even while they're spiraling out of the sky, it's like, oh, I can still see. Keep crashing slightly further away. We can get more intel.
I'm still getting that feed. Tell them to fly higher, then I'll crash for further.
Yeah, exactly. Fly faster, fly straighter, get more intel. As you're crashing down. So that's the Supreme Commander.
Are these things all human piloted?
I don't know in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously in Total Annihilation they're not.
No.
Well, one side is clones, one side is AI. So technically neither of them are really piloted by people. But in this game, I feel like it's all robotic, maybe. It's kind of unspecified. Apart from the commanders, obviously.
Right.
And obviously in this game, because there's voice acting in characters, all of the commanders are actual people who yell when they explode. As you do.
My fight money.
And spend the rest of the time just making really bad taunts. Where they're like, oh, you're going to make a really cool nuclear explosion when I kill you. It's like, no, I don't think so.
No, my nuclear explosion will be pathetic.
And then the only other thing I need to talk about much more briefly, because I just played a demo, was weirdly another roguelike city builder. Because we talked about, what's it called, Against the Storm.
Right, yeah.
Before. And we were like, oh, this is a sort of weird new combination of genres. A roguelike city building game. And then I played this demo for basically another one, kind of. Although I don't get a very good feeling from this one of exactly how roguelike it is.
Right.
It's the Wandering Village, where you're basically building a town on the back of a giant dinosaur thing, basically, that's walking through the world.
Not a tortoise, unfortunately.
Yeah, not quite.
Oh.
And its back is perfectly flat.
Okay.
Which gives you a nice plane to build on. And has trees and rocks and shit growing on it.
Exactly like dinosaurs.
Yep. But, like, the idea of this... So the reason that I feel like it might be roguelike is that, I mean, the dinosaur thing has health.
Oh, right.
And it sort of implies at the start of the game, it's just like, you have to try and guide it as far as you can, which then, roguelike elements, you restart the run when it dies and have another go and do things differently or better or whatever. But then you have... then it also has the randomized elements of the roguelike where the dinosaur thing walks through the world and there's like random events along its way and random locations nearby that you can like send scouting parties out to get extra resources from or whatever. And then there's branches in the road where it's like you can sort of see some distance ahead, so it's like, do you want to go down this route or this route, because which event is going to be more beneficial to you? And then you're trying to keep this dinosaur thing alive as all the various bad things happen whilst building a city on its back. And then in the later game tech, which you don't really get in the demo, but in the later parts of the tech tree, you start getting into like making buildings that actually harm the dinosaur for your benefit. But then you like, that's the trade-off. Like, it makes it easier to keep your city part of the game alive, but harder to keep the dinosaur part alive.
Weird. So it's like a weird trade-off thing.
Yeah, you like one of the last upgrade. Well, I think it's the last, judging by the tech tree is a bit sort of parallel rather than full tree, but like one of them is just like extract blood out of the dinosaur directly, which is like, that's probably real bad for it, I imagine.
Can you eat other smaller settlements like Mortal Engine stuff?
No, I don't think. You can send like scouting parties out to like recently ruined or barely holding on settlements to get extra people, but that's not really the same thing.
You seen that film, Mortal Engines?
No.
I watched.
I've just seen bits of it.
Yeah, Gnome and I watched it not that long ago. It's better in concept than execution, as you might expect, but it's surprisingly okay. I was expecting much worse, let's put it that way, but it's all right.
But yeah, there's not really much to this demo, I guess. You don't get that far up the tech tree, well, I mean, it's still early access or whatever, so there's definitely chances of that tech tree getting much more complicated. But yeah, you have to build like, because it is a balance of your needs against the dinosaur's needs, even in the relatively early game where it's just like, this dinosaur is totally going to starve unless you feed it, so you better grow mushrooms on it somehow, which isn't harming it, even though the mushrooms are presumably absorbing nutrients out of it because of the land that you're on top of it. But you grow the mushrooms and then you build a catapult to like chuck it into its mouth.
Oh, okay.
And then obviously there's the other system of like, if you do things that are nice for it, it trusts you more. And then so when it comes to the forks in the road or whatever, you can basically build a loudspeaker to be like, go left, you idiot. And then if you're nice to it, it's more likely to listen to you.
Right. So it can basically, you can not have control over those choices.
Yeah, you can lose control over how, like when it sleeps, or if you want it to run faster for a while to get through a dangerous area quicker. Maybe it won't bother. Maybe it will just continue to plod and then you'll get fucked up a different way.
So do things attack the dinosaur? Do they come to you? Like, do things just ignore the dinosaurs in these worlds? Are there other dinosaurs? Are you the only city dinosaur?
Well, yeah, I think that it's implied that it's like a super rare thing and you just happen to find this one waking up just as it's about to start walking, so you quickly climb on and then start a village, essentially. But then the story in general seems to suggest like there's this weird poison spore cloud thing that's gradually infecting the planet, which is maybe why this dinosaur thing has now woken up, because the ground under it has got poisoned.
Right.
And then so when you're walking through the poison areas, all the poison spores start attacking all the plants and stuff on top of it, and then it poisons the dinosaur as well directly. So you have to like make antidote as well for it and you, and clear all the poison crap off its back using little flamethrower dudes.
That's a kind of cool idea.
Yeah. Especially at this point, I guess in early access and a demo, it doesn't feel very like fleshed out.
Right, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of space to expand the concepts a bit more.
Sure.
And of course, naturally, how random does it get?
Well, yeah. And how roguelike actually is it?
Yeah.
Are we playing like a 3-hour game and then have it just end because the dinosaur died?
Yeah. Yeah, is it full on or is it roguelite-y in some way? Do you get to keep stuff for the next run, or like are you unlocking options for the next run?
Or is it really actually trying to be roguelike at all? Is it just meant to be like it's just always a score game? Just see how far you can get. See if you can get to the end of the tech tree.
Is there even an end game?
Yeah. Does the dinosaur actually go somewhere specific in the end? Or is it just keep going until you die?
Or are there multiple places the dinosaur could go?
Yeah.
Based on your choices, yeah.
So yeah, that's that. And then just a bit of the usual stuff. I finished the grind in Derg.
Oh, blimey.
Wow.
I mean, it turned out I had basically a whole extra month because they've announced the date for the season 2, which is like the 28th
of
April.
Oh, okay.
So basically I did it way too fast, but I've got through it. So I'm good.
It's all good. Jesus. That's a lot of Derg.
Not as much as I thought it would be, really. Once you get more like, once you're in the grind mode of just being like, I can finish this point extraction in 10 minutes because I can just tell the robot to go get the things and dump them all in and just leave. Get not much experience with it. It doesn't matter because it's 10 minutes. It's real fast. But I've also, while I've been playing Derg because of the grind, I've also been like, well, I guess I can actually just do all the weeklies and stuff as well and actually progress the other ways, get more overclocks, because I'm still not done with those or anything. I don't even know how close I am to being done with those.
I guess there's no idea, of like whether they, what ones are available and what aren't.
I mean, I think I might be getting fairly close to done on weapon overclocks, because a couple of times when I've gone to the core infusers after the machine event things, and it brings up the choice of 3. Normally it's a cosmetic one and 2 gun ones, but I've started seeing 2 cosmetic ones and 1 gun one.
Yeah, okay.
So I think I might be getting close to done with the weapon upgrade overclocks. But then again, I don't know how many cosmetic overclocks there are, because I've never chosen to take any of those, obviously, because why would you?
Yeah. Huh.
And I've I did the deep dive last week as well. So it's like, I can actually do that. It's still not really, that's not beneficial to the season pass again, because obviously it's basically only one long mission, and because of the XP scaling, it having all that extra XP from essentially doing 3 missions at once doesn't actually benefit you on the season pass, but you get those overclocks. So
yeah,
that's the real reason for doing the deep dive. And it was also in the sand level, which is...
Oh, yeah.
I much prefer that for...
It's a bit quicker.
Certain types of missions.
Yeah.
And when it's randomized, you're likely to come up against every type of mission, essentially. And I've also pretty much decided that I'm not using the nuke anymore on the engineer grenade launcher. I'm using the hyper propellant that makes it a railgun. Because that's just it's so much more useful to just be able to snipe individual targets, essentially.
Yeah, you get so little ammo with that thing, though.
But that's the point, though, because you can change the upgrade tree for the grenade launcher every time where you would normally choose explosion radius. Don't need that any longer, switch that to ammo. And even damage, don't really need that, because it does so much damage with the hyperpropellant.
Oh, so the damage boost on a direct hit is...
Well, yeah, and if it's... Because that... You can also get ones that only upgrade the area damage and not the direct damage. So those are pointless as well if you're using the railgun version.
Yeah.
So you can rebalance it to get quite a lot more ammo. Because like in the setup I have like 12 shots, I think, of the railgun.
I generally have only ever used that thing as crowd control.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
there's
you use it.
There's a whole load of dudes here.
And that's why you have the nuke version, because that's like the most crowd control.
I don't know if I have the nuke version. Is that like an overclock?
Yeah, it's an overclock.
Yeah.
So that's what I had been using before. But you only get like 2 shots of that, of course, because it's a nuke.
Right.
But I've just started only using the hyperpropellant version. It's so ridiculously powerful for fighting the bosses, because as soon as you crack the armor or whatever and expose the weak point, you just shoot it with the grenade launcher and it just obliterates like half their health bar in one shot.
Nice.
Which is fun.
Yeah, maybe take that into a level where you know you're going to get
bosses.
Well, yeah,
the elimination missions always take that. Because I had been switching back and forth, but now I'm just keeping it. Because it'll one-shot Praetorians.
You got my triple vertical spinning laser beam of death.
I don't like the breach cutter. I've never got used to it. Mainly because I've just always preferred the grenade launcher, so I've never used it that much.
It's pretty slow damage output, but it just looks fun.
Yeah.
Spinning wall of doom.
Yes. But at this point, I'm just playing all the characters. I just play whatever one I feel. Whatever one that's why I've been using the engineer. I've been using the engineer for the eliminations because of the hyper propellant grenade launcher. But I've nearly made it to gold rank with Gunner, the one that I was originally playing.
Jeez,
nearly. Just have to do that with all of them to get that achievement.
Ugh.
All the other classes are at bronze 2 at the moment.
Wait, but how is that ranked? Like what? Like because I've only promoted a guy twice. Like what do you mean? Like it's like
That's bronze 2. Yeah, that's
bronze.
what we're at with
Holy
our.
cow! Right, that's a lot of Derg.
Yep, sure is. So yeah, there's that. There's Dirk. And Rocket League.
That's not Derg. Yeah, bit of Rocket League.
We finally got back to stabbing.
We got back to some stabby stab in Hyrule Warriors. Yeah.
Is that what you refer to it now?
Yeah,
Just
basically stabby stab. We got to. Well, we did another. It feels like we might be getting near the end, but I'm not so sure.
Well,
right?
the thing is, it feels like the end of the story.
Maybe.
Except we still haven't fought the actual bad guy again yet.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you look at the completion, it's like 75-ish%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there could be a bunch of post-game stuff that fills up the rest of that percentage,
Maybe.
certainly, post-main story. Or we could just be about to hit another twist of some kind.
Yeah.
Because it's getting very, like, epic.
I think
we've got everyone together now.
Yeah,
all the racers. We've got the king back.
We're battling back into Hyrule Castle.
Zelda's back on with her glowy powers.
Yep.
Shit.
We're in Castle Town.
Nice. Oh, getting there then.
Yeah, you'd think so, but as I say,
even Hobo King's fighting alongside us.
Yep. But as I say, we still haven't actually seen the bad guy again for ages.
Man, I had so much fun trying to explain Hyrule Warriors to a friend of mine the other day who'd played
Breath of the Wild.
who was aware of Musos.
Oh, okay.
And had played Breath of the Wild.
Right.
Hadn't played a Muso themselves.
Right.
But was aware of it. And I was just trying to explain like who was in it as like a character.
Like everyone.
A character list and how they played. And they were just like, wait, what?
What? Yeah.
You get both Hobo King and regular King? And I'm like, yeah, totally.
He just changes.
It doesn't make any sense, but he's there. And he's like, that's madness. Totally wasn't expecting Hestu.
No, of course.
Nobody expects Hestu.
I mean, the fairies also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shakala.
Yeah. That blew his mind. It's like you play as all the fairies. What do you mean all of them? All of them at once.
All of them as one character.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to I'll just have to try harder to pick up Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition when we're done with this.
So we can get even more.
Even more stabby stab. Yep.
A couple of more characters.
Infinite stab.
What have you been playing then, Rob, besides stabbing?
He's actually been playing some different stabbing.
I've been playing some games. I think there's there's three. I'm aware we're running long.
Yeah.
I'll try and keep these fairly brief. I gave Team Sonic Racing another shot.
Okay.
Oh, you did?
For a bit. For quite a short bit. And then I got stuck. I got stuck on a Grand Prix, and I should probably just drop the difficulty level down because I'm still playing it in hard mode. But I just got to a GP. I could not win because my AI compatriots are pants.
Okay.
So it led me to start experimenting. Like I've got to the point where I've got quite a few like little things I can modify on the car. I can change the parts out, and I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be playing with someone that's just got like the best top speed I can achieve right now. Because I thought, well, if I just get ahead, I'll stay ahead. And then the Mario Kart thing happens, and everyone just obliterates you on the last lap, so you go from first to last.
Right.
And that kept happening, and it was getting quite annoying. And it's like, okay, well, let's try one of the other characters. Maybe I'll just sort of try and be a bit more mid-rangey and then fight my way at the front. It's like, no, that totally didn't work as well. So I eventually went back to let's just be Sonic. Let's just go max speed. Let's get ahead, which works some of the time. And then my AI companions had come like last. And it's like, and it ranks you on your team. So I couldn't win because one of the other teams had always come like second, third, and fourth and get all the points. And it's like, this is impossible. Like, what am I supposed to do to actually do this? And then that game's shit.
Okay, finally we got there.
It just
I think
doesn't.
you could have said that last time, probably.
Yeah,
but
I know, and I think I did. Like, in not so many, in
less explicit terms.
less
Slightly
explicitly,
less
but
explicit.
just in and a lot more words. It just doesn't work as a single player experience. It's probably fine in multiplayer, and it's probably. I mean, you can play the game with the team mechanics turned off. That's just not how the campaign works. Yeah. Ugh. What were they thinking? Unless if there was some way I could influence the team mechanics more as a single player person, perhaps stuff that perhaps you can't do in multiplayer. But I don't even know how that would work in that sort of game. Like, it's just.
I mean, I assume like logically, if you compared it to like Mario Kart or whatever, you'd think that. I mean, obviously, it does this in this game, but like the whole point of you being in first is you're just chucking all the weapons and stuff to your teammates, because in Mario Kart you'd just be holding on to them because you're in first and you never use them, and you'll run through the pickups and nothing happens.
Yeah, you'll be waiting for like a defensive one.
Yeah, you're just carrying a shell or whatever.
Yeah, and just hanging out your ass in case a red shell comes up.
Whereas in this game you're just basically constantly dumping them to your teammates, and that's theoretically what's meant to be helping them.
Boosting your ultimate bar. And I mean, the ultimate bar is the most important strategy, right? In that game, it's like you if you keep doing team actions, your ultimate bar builds up faster, and there's the possibility of you getting it 2, maybe 3 times a race. And it's
you get to mash X, and then the stupid song plays.
You don't mash X.
Damn it!
Yeah, I think you just push Y and it goes. Well, no, wait, triangle. Sorry, I'm on a PlayStation controller.
Does it play a stupid song though?
It does.
Oh, good. Does it a per team?
It's a per team song.
Good. The Team Sonic.
So if you're the team with Silver and it plays Silver's theme.
No, but it's not a new one.
No, it's a sort of
remix,
but yeah, but they're very short. Like
well,
actually,
yes.
as you expect. Like,
what song does Team Sonic use?
Can't actually remember.
Damn it. Presumably it's not Fist Bump then, because you probably would remember that.
No, it's not that. It's definitely not that. Yeah, that's annoying. I can't actually remember. I only really remember Silver's theme because it's like there was the one like, oh, you actually picked that. Oh, okay. Fair enough. I guess it's always the Speedy character's one that they get chosen. So like something to do with Amy, character. Something to do with. No, wait, but Silver is Team Blaze. Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused.
Well, yeah, I guess Silver would be with Blaze, but who's the first?
And Blaze is the speed character. So maybe it's actually per character you're playing as.
Right, so whoever's triggered it.
Yeah, I might need to revisit it to find out.
Just find out.
I won't.
No, you shouldn't.
I shouldn't. It's a bad game. I mean, there's one bit of music that's I haven't been totally impressed with the new music anyway. Like it doesn't seem very good. Apart from the like drum and bass version of the main theme, they have relegated to the loadout screen. So when you're like building your cars up and stuff, you get this like slightly better version of the main theme, and it's like that's actually quite well done. And but it's relegated to this menu. It's so strange. It does that thing where a lot of the menu pages like have different music for some reason.
Right. Get some Chow Garden theme going.
I don't know, again, don't think I've heard the Chow Garden theme. Although I should probably play as the Chows and fire an ultimate to see what the hell they have.
Oh yeah, the Chow race music.
Yeah, probably. I would laugh so hard if it was like if somehow somewhere they managed to factor in like the violin minigame music from Sonic and the Seven Rings.
No, I don't think so somehow.
Anywho, there's that PlayStation Plus game. Getting my money's worth.
I guess.
Yeah, I've now finished Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, that you were quite enjoying. Well,
yeah,
I think.
It ended up being a bit a fair amount longer than I was expecting. Like it's not like a tight 8; it's more like a tight 15.
Right. Yeah.
But it keeps the same thing all the way through. Like it's a linear experience all the way through. There are choices you can make, and I think there was at least one character in the credit sequence where it's just like, I have no idea who that is. I'm pretty certain I didn't meet that guy. And there are bits there's a bit of the credit sequence that's sort of like animated, and there's an altercation between Star-Lord and some guy that I'm assuming is this character I don't know, and I'm like, that never happened. So yeah, I guess there are choices that matter in that thing. Maybe. Oh, I don't think it changes like the core direction of the plot. I think that's fairly set in stone, but like how those moments play out, it seems fairly different. And I know that I kind of there's one part where I thought that, like, when you first visit Nowhere, which is like the celestial head that from the films, if you've seen those, where it's like the sort of shady place. Yeah. So the first time I visited there, like, it's the only point in the game where you have money for some reason, and it's like, I thought, well, I better hold on to this money. That seems kind of important. Like, why would it suddenly be like suggesting that I do things like that now? It never matters again past that point. There's like one moment where it potentially matters later on. Like, if you have a certain amount of cash, it would probably make a difference. But it meant that I didn't really engage in the systems there, because I thought, it's like, well, I'll probably be back here, right? There seems like a lot of things I could potentially do. I don't want to
spend all my money now.
Exactly.
I probably want to save up for something, right? I mean, that's why
you never come back. Like, like, what's that? Just top tip. Like, you could probably spend most of your money. There's a whole thing about having to pay a fine that I ended up not doing, and that ended up changing the final end sequence, because I didn't pay my fine. It's like, it's I really enjoyed it. Like, I think the gameplay remained fairly simplistic all the way through, but the focus on a narrative and a linear campaign felt really, really good. As I said last time, it's like it's kind of refreshing, because you just don't get that many of these days, where it's it's just trying to give a nice tight experience, and it achieves it. It's I mean, it's quite easy to nitpick, like, on it because of the simplicity. In some ways, it's like, hey, I don't think the presentation is perfect. There's quite a lot of moments where stuff goes a little wrong. For instance, like, there are moments where during the cutscenes there are bits that are quite close to characters and their hands and things like that, and it seems like they don't have the animation accuracy. Like, there's a granularity that's not quite low enough, so you can see sort of things like slightly jittering, and it's like, okay, maybe that would have been not so visible in the quality modes that only run at 30 FPS, or the new ray tracing mode that got added to it, which also runs at 30 FPS, rendering the previous quality mode pretty useless. You like run it in ray tracing mode. What are you doing?
Sure.
But I preferred it in performance mode. But yeah, maybe that stuff would have been hidden, I guess, if you're playing at those frame rates. But yeah, you can sort of see it jitter around at spots. Sometimes when the camera switched, you'd get like a little moment where the lighting adjusted, like, over a few frames. Like, I guess maybe for different camera shots, they were using different lighting rigs, which wouldn't be unusual for things like that, to try and put like a hero light behind the character and things like that. You know, they're doing proper scene design to plan this stuff. But yeah, you can sort of see it shift weirdly. Or maybe that's an artifact of TAA, something like that. Who knows? And the kind of talk, I would say, like, the problem I mentioned last time of characters seemingly talking over each other, or like the line delivery pacing being off, I think that actually got better as the game went on and things became a little more calm. It calmed down to the point where that stuff kind of wasn't a problem so much towards the back half. You still had moments where they had so much to say that you would be pressing through the level, and you'd press up to a point where, like, whatever they were saying gets cut off by the bit of speech that they need to be now talking about. That happens all the time. Like, you know, you go through one of those like fin squeeze walls, and you squeeze your way through it, but like halfway through the wall, it now triggers the next conversation they need to be having as they're walking out into the area, therefore cutting off the conversation they were just having. That still happens quite a bit. They've just got too much to say. That's all it is. And there are certain bits where they perhaps didn't record enough lines because they're saying them quite a lot. That's quite common as well. So you get quite a lot of repeats in spots. But on that front, I'm like, yeah, those are quite small. What is a bigger deal is I encountered quite a large number of bugs. Like the game soft locked on me once. So like total, like not a full on crash. It just stopped and so I had to exit out fully and come back in. I had
I don't
plenty.
think that's what softlock means.
Is that not what softlock is? Like, I thought softlock was the game freezes, but your like console hardware is still running.
Yeah, I guess that is a kind of softlock. Because I would have said softlock is when something happens that breaks the way you interact with the game. So like you get stuck in an animation, but you can't get out.
Oh,
That's
okay.
like a softlock.
In which case, I had several of those.
Yeah, them as well.
Yeah, so I had a game freeze, but I could get out of it using the Xbox menu to reload. That's what I meant by a soft lock. But yeah, I guess that's probably
That probably is a hard lock. Actually.
Maybe that's just a lock.
It's like you're resetting the system.
Yeah,
it's
just not a console killer.
Yeah, if it was the SNES, you would be just hitting the reset button.
Yeah. Okay. Not a console killing lock, but like a lock done the same. Yeah, I had that happen once. Fortunately, the game checkpoints like frequently enough that it put me like 30 seconds before where I was. So that's not a problem. Well, it's a problem, but it's not not a deal breaker. I had plenty of cutscenes that had a soft lock then,
right?
Like where you'd be walking through the cutscene, or it would be like a cutscene with a little bit of interaction, like you'd press to walk forward or something while they're having a chat and things are happening.
Right.
And then it would never trigger the next part of the sequence. So I'd get to a certain point along the corridor and everyone would just stop and start sort of like doing an idle animation, and then it'd be like, all right.
That is definitely an old school one.
That happened a lot. There was quite a few moments where I encountered one of these where it just wouldn't progress.
I wonder if that could even be frame rate related.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
Like you'd skipped over the frame that should have been the trigger, except that would be the other way if it was a slower frame rate. You'd expect that.
I mean, maybe it had less time to trigger the script and so deprioritized it in performance. But I mean, yeah, who knows how their engine works and how their scripting works. But yeah, that happened a fair amount. It happened in the very last sequence of the game. So I made a choice that I think ended up being the wrong choice in terms of like ultimate victory. And it was like, oh, this is really, really bad. This is all going dramatic. And then the game just sort of, everyone just starts standing there for a moment. the big bad is doing like an idle animation as if everything's like, and we start folding our arms, just standing there going, it was really odd. So I reloaded and made the different choice, and that sequence played out entirely differently.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit buggy. The best bug, though, that I used the photo mode of the game to capture, and I might have to show you this, was when a random character there are quite a few segments where you're just on the Milano, just talking to your crewmates before you have the opportunity to, go to the captain's chair or whatever, and then say like, okay, let's carry on, let's go do the next bit.
Yeah.
And there was one time where there was just a random dude on my ship just standing in front of the cockpit area. I have no idea who this guy is.
Maybe that was the guy from the other thing. The credit sequence.
I eventually figured out by looking at the bios like who he was, but there was absolutely no reason for him to be on the ship. No one acknowledged his presence.
Well, of course not.
And he was just standing there, just in a casual, again, another idle animation, just like, who is this guy? Why is he even here? Like, Gnome was in the room at the time, and even she was like, who's that guy? She doesn't really pay attention to games like that I'm playing all that much, but even she saw this guy and was just like, who's that?
Right.
And I'm like, I have no idea.
I mean, we can only assume that he's meant to appear in some sequence on the ship, and therefore the model must be loaded somewhere off the grid, and then it just put him in the wrong place.
Yeah, because I went back and I figured out who he was. There's a section early on in the game where you encounter a prisoner in a cell, and you could push some buttons to make something happen.
Right.
And the last I saw of him was him descending into a floor after I pushed a thing, and he's like, all right, mate, see you later, bye, as Star-Lord would probably do.
Yep.
And that was the last I saw of this guy. And that was the last time the narrative specifically picked him out. And it was that guy that ended up on my ship somehow. That was hilarious. It didn't actually break anything at all. I just had to walk around him and then press the button in the cockpit. And then he was never seen again.
Maybe he was meant to be like a stowaway or something, and you were meant to discover he was hiding somewhere in the ship.
Yeah.
But then it just bugged out and just put his model in the middle of the room.
Yeah, or maybe there's some sequence that I missed, like in that bit where he is a prisoner or something, that it could have played out differently, and thus I would have had a sequence at that point in the game. Some fun stuff.
Yep.
And it's well, I mean, one of its more fun things is like it has like a superpower like meter that builds up over time as you're like doing team actions, and you press both the bumpers and it goes into huddle mode, and he raises his Walkman in the air and the team, he goes, "Huddle up, team," and they have a little chat about how well or badly they think like in the middle of a fight they just stop and have a chat. It's a very Guardians of the Galaxy thing, I suppose. And they're like, "This is going really well," or "This is going badly," and then you have a chance to respond with a couple of options to be like reacting to what they say is the idea. It's like if you don't react to what they say and just say something, then you get powered up and everyone else is left alone. If you pick the right option, everyone on your team gets powered up and gets high damage at a time, and then some 80s music plays, and you're like, hell yeah. It's quite funny in the middle of like some of the game's most dramatic moments to suddenly change it to Rick Astley.
Nice. Is that included?
Oh yeah, it's in the soundtrack. It's like it's got quite a good. I mean, as you would expect, it's got quite a good 80s classic soundtrack.
Nice.
That's littered about the place, and some new stuff they've written for fictional band Star-Lord.
Some new stuff they've written.
Yeah, this new stuff they've written.
Sweet.
Oh boy, they've written stuff.
Star-Lord sounds good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely worth your time.
Cool.
I think it's a bit. Perhaps they should have spent maybe a little longer on the actual gameplay. Perhaps give it a little more depth. But whatevs. I enjoyed it, and that's all that matters. I don't care whether you enjoyed it or not.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Enjoy it or don't. It's not the shit like Sonic Team Racing or
Team Sonic Racing. Yeah.
Team Sonic Racing.
Yeah, worth your time. And also, like I said before, I want to see more games in this style. They don't have to be as long as this.
Yeah,
they really don't. You could make something half its length and it would be acceptable. But it's a great fit for the Game Pass model, I think. This sort of game.
Like a mini series in game form.
Yeah. I wouldn't go as far as saying episodic. I'm not going. Yeah, don't go that far.
No, you don't need to do that with games.
No, but there's
a mini series is are barely episodic, even on TV. They're basically long films, quite a lot of the time.
But I think Game Pass and this style of subscription lends itself to the Tight 8. Bring back the Tight 8 campaign. Now's the time.
Tight 8. It's the Tight 8 returns.
Attack on Tight 8. So once I finished that, I've started playing Tunic.
Oh, after sneaking that into your
into my league thing. I haven't actually checked out how that's reviewed and how that's benefited my team.
I think pretty well.
I'm also quite digging this. I'm having a good run. Tunic's pretty cool. So it's heavily Zelda inspired, but I mean, we talked about this in August last year when I played the demo version of it, which was kind of a cut and stitch of some of the early areas of the game. I don't think the demo, as a result, is super representative. I think like things have been tightened up since then, and the flow of the game is better for not just stitching those bits together. If you see what I mean, to make the demo, it's better not that way. So it's a sort of isometric viewpoint Zelda-esque experience, but it's sort of playing the Hyperlight Drifter and Fez card at the same time, where it's light on the English and it's light on the explanation. So you're having to feel your way around the world. It's like dialogue boxes and things that pop up are generally written in this like runic style language, so you have no idea really what you're agreeing to. Like every time you pick something up, it puts like a yes/no dialogue on screen, and that's the only bit you can read is the yes/no. Everything else is just like rune question mark, and it's like
okay.
there are things I've found in the world which I interact with. All I see is rune, 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 question mark, and then an OK button, and it's just like, okay, I have no idea what this means. So the way the game it tries to explain itself to you is genius. You find scattered around the world as a collectible item pages to an instruction book that are like presented like an old video game, basically, like almost like an old strategy guide, like a Nintendo Power style strategy guide kind of thing. So you're finding pages for this thing that are also mostly written in runic language, but have the odd bit of English scattered about, and you can and you're sort of using this instruction book that you're finding to sort of piece together gameplay mechanics, or like reading certain graphics in it to be like, oh, I can do that to do that, and it's super cool. It's like a hint system, but just presented in a different way.
Oh, it's clever.
Yeah, I'm really into it. I think it's harder as overall. I think the game is harder than you might expect. The combat is quite tough, but I found that from the demo as well. It's kind of like it's an animation first combat system. So like if you're in a little bit like Dark Souls, I guess, like you have a stamina meter and things like that, but sort of in the, I guess Hyperlight was similar to this as well, actually, in that, like if you've pressed the attack button, you're committing to that attack. Like you do have a dodge roll, but you can't dodge roll if you're in the middle of some other action.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
So timing is critical, but also everything else moves quite fast. So like being surrounded is a real problem. Having multiple enemies is often a problem. Fighting one-on-one, not too bad. If you get like 3 crocodiles on your ass, you're in trouble, man. Those crocodiles are bastards. I hate them. They're so fast. Like I had a load of spiders that surprised me at one point, and it's like, oh god, this is a real problem. There's like 8 of these guys, and I'm having to actually like literally kite them into a corridor so I have any chance of fighting them effectively. I was a bit underpowered at that point for going to that, I suppose. But it was so yeah, the combat system is quite punishing as a result. Like if you get hit, you don't have much of an invulnerability window if you get hit, so you can get hit over and over and over if you're unlucky. And if you die, you go back to the save point, and almost all your progress is lost. Like, well, I say that you obviously you lose your position, which is the most important thing because it's about exploration and it's about going about the world. But you lose a little bit of money as a result of that, and but you do keep key items that you picked up in the way. So there's been a couple of times where I've cheesed that and been like,
just grab the item and die.
Yep, absolutely. And it's like I've kept the item, and it's like, you know what? The amount of money I've lost from that run, I don't care about. I'm not going to corpse run that, because you can do that as well. I'm just going to go to where I need this key that I just picked up and died from. I'm just going to do that, because there are just moments where this game is hard.
I guess is that how that works in Dark Souls? I guess it must be, right? Because you drop souls.
Yeah,
but I don't think you drop any items ever.
Right. So you could go somewhere, get the item you want, die, and then you'd be all right. Because you're not obliged to corpse run. Because I don't think it's when you die and respawn. I think it is a respawn. It's not like going back in time. Right.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not like a hard reload.
So I think that may be how that works in Dark Souls, which I've just never thought about, even though I played Dark Souls, but I didn't play enough Dark Souls.
Right. Yeah. You played a bit of Dark Souls.
Yeah. But yes, you have the money is like the soul equivalent, basically, because you're spending it on your upgrades as well.
Yeah. I mean, you spend it to upgrade, which is also something you have to learn from the manual how that works. And they don't. The things you're upgrading start as question marks until you've upgraded them once, and then it reveals what they actually are. I mean, there's systems at play that I don't fully understand yet. There's definitely items that I've got that I'd like, what on earth is this? I don't know what that is. And those bits of the manual that I've found are so far just nothing but runes, so I still don't know what they are. And there's bits in the manual where it says, look at page 20, and it's like, I haven't got page 20 yet, god damn it. So I don't know what I still can't learn what you're talking about. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, and it looks great. The presentation is fantastic. It's got a very ethereal electronica-ish sort of music style to it that's kind of evoking that. It's not quite Disaster Piece, It's not quite there, but it's got a little bit of that going on. It's pretty cool, and I don't really know quite how much more to say about it. That is what it is. It's like it's the mystery is what's is a key part of this experience. The not knowing how things work until you either try them and figure it out for yourself, or until you find a bit of manual that you can sort of decipher into what it is.
Yeah, it does seem like it is basically crossing the ideas of Fez and Dark Souls, where it's like Fez is the whole puzzle is working out how everything works in that world, and it's never explained in Fez. You do just have to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
But and then in Dark Souls, it's like you have to learn by doing. You have to just try and then die and then come back and try it again until you work out what you have to do. But then this is like the intersection of those two things.
And then presented like Zelda.
Yeah, and then looking like Zelda.
I mean, sounds great.
Yeah, it's pretty addictive. There's definitely been moments where I've been like, "Oh, come on!" As I've like hit areas of the world that are just really not complex, but like there's a difficult fight, and it's like you obviously sometimes those fights are presented to you before you've really got the tool to deal with it properly. Like you've got to do that fight once to get through the area, and then at the end of it, you get the tool that makes that quite easy. Like. Or sometimes you've just done stuff in a bad order. Like, I really wish I had that magic dagger earlier than I did, which can freeze things. It's like that would have made some of the fights in the area quite a lot easier. But yeah, but you can't use that very much. And it's like, now I'm wondering if that thing unlocks secrets, but like, I don't know yet. Like there's definitely things I can see, and I have absolutely no idea how to get to them. And it's one of those. I'm probably going to have to retread the entire map at some point with skills I found later.
Yep.
It's cool. I'm enjoying it a lot. Tunic.
Or not Tunic? That is the question.
Tunic.
I'd buy it if I were you and play it because it sounds good.
or you don't have to.
Pass.
Yeah.
Or Game Pass. Yeah. Or PlayStation Pass. No, wait. Game Pass.
I mean, it might end up on PlayStation Pass. I don't know.
Wait, is it coming out on any other systems?
I think it's out on PlayStation. I don't think it's Microsoft exclusive. Don't trust me on that. But I think it's come out elsewhere.
Righty, that is your games. I think I mentioned I played a bit of the Kirby demo. That was cool, but I think Zach covered that last time. I mean, we're kind of running over. So I think
have even less experience with Kirby than I do, probably.
That's true. Yeah, I do. So I did play the Game Boy game.
Yeah,
but I haven't played all the others. No.
I mean, I've only really my Kirby experience is pretty light as well. I think I've only tried like one of the Kirby games that's on my SNES Classic.
Well, yeah, the Kirby game, the Superstar.
I mean, there's two on the SNES Classic.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But Superstar is the weird sort of semi-compilation, but it's also just a Kirby game.
Yeah, I think it's that one that I've tried.
Yes.
And I remember watching you play a lot of Kirby back in the day. So it's, the Game Boy ones.
Yeah.
I
just like his dumb victory dances.
Yep, you got to have the Kirby victory
dance. Yeah. So play that demo for free on the Switch if you have one, because it's worth a try.
On the Switch.
Cool. Right, and that's what we've been playing, and that's a podcast. We've got some videos coming up on youtube.com/
Happy Salad,
I think it is. Happy Salad Net. Yeah. Including continuation of our Ocarina of Time run through, plus some others, SteamWorld Dig, and probably some more coming. So check out those.
There is more Zelda coming.
Yeah.
Enjoy that.
Check out our website, happysalad.net, for more of our stuffs, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another Saladcast. Woo! Goodbye.
Dibbidi-dibbidi-dibbidi-dibbidi.